All right, everybody. What is going on? Huh? 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 No late points today? No late points today? I'm sure some of you are surprised. Don't know why that would be the case, but yeah, today we're good. Today no late points. Yeah. I should get some points back, huh? I know that's what most of you are thinking. I know most of you feel like that would be fair right now. But I disagree. I think it would be too easy if I could deduct late points simply by being early. So I have to shoot down your guys' suggestions. We're going to keep the late points where they're at right now. Do I remove points now, says Ricky Servin? It would be fully within my rights to do so, but no. I will abstain. I'll allow the points to stand as they are. We can take a quick look at the late penalties. Just take a quick look, take a peek at where it's at. And I have a question for y'all, an important question. All right? Before we get into One Piece stuff, an important question. How is the Sakamoto Days anime? How's the Sakamoto Days anime? So right now we're at 118 late points. No points will be added. No points will be taken away because I'm generous. We have 118 late points. These are the goals that you guys are shooting towards. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. These are the. This is it. Yeah, these are the points you guys are shooting towards. These are the things you can already purchase if you so choose. I'll give you guys a poll partway through the stream. Yeah, that's basically where we're at right now. That's pretty much where we're at. Mob Psycho, I need to finish out the current season. I'm partway through season 3, just took a bit of a pause. Sakamoto Days, I didn't realize the anime is out. Can anyone tell me how the anime is? Gosh Panda, what's up, man? Thanks for the 5. How much do you think we'll learn about the First World? Will we get a flashback to the first Void Century within the flashback to the second Void Century? That is a very interesting question, man. That's a very interesting question because up till now, I kind of assumed that there's two really major era flashbacks that we kind of need, and then 2 to 3 major character flashbacks that we still need. This was before we met Loki, okay? I thought that we would need the God Valley flashback, so that would be our big flashback for the start of the Pirate Age, or our big flashback in modern times. So the most important third world flashback, right? Then I thought we'd get the Void Century flashback, which would come when Robin is reading the poneglyphs, okay? So those are the two things that were on the horizon from my point of view. Then we get the First World shit. I also thought the 3 character flashbacks we'd be getting would be Dragon flashback, Blackbeard flashback, potentially a Kainu flashback. Now it looks like a Loki flashback is also in the works. A Shanks flashback is likely guaranteed. So we've got still a good, at least 4 significant character-based flashbacks in the works. Maybe we get a Mihawk one. I don't know. I feel like if we get a Mihawk one, it'll be on the shorter side of things. But yeah, I think we're 3 to 5... at least 4 major character flashbacks, sorry. And then I thought we get 2 big era, lore-based flashbacks, God Valley and Second World, the Void Century War. The First World shit is very, very confusing. In the sense that I've no fucking, I didn't even want a flashback before the Joy Boy era. Are we going to meet a whole separate bunch of characters there or something like that? I don't know. Maybe that's one that's more narrated to us. Maybe that's something that we see Joy Boy and them discovering during their era, but we don't actually get the flashback to it, or if we do, it's like a very detached sort of flashback, kind of just getting the gist of what happened rather than learning a whole bunch of new characters. That's my thought. I don't know how Oda would really pull off 2 ancient lore flashbacks with 2 totally separate groups of characters that we've never met before that would likely feature some similarities in a lot of what's happening. I don't know. Marco Cadillo, thanks for the 2. Next delay results in 20 points added. Hashtag justice. Unfortunately, Marco, that's not how it works. You're lucky I'm not docking some late points off of myself right now. Fading Face, thanks for the 2. Hey, Morj, did you ever finish Mob Psycho? Great question. I'm partway through it. Maybe I'll finish it tonight. I don't know. Tonight I want to watch the Lakers game. See how Luka gels with LeBron. Mob, I want to finish soon. It's at a good point. It's at a good spot. I just want to close it out. The one thing I would say with Mob that's a little tricky is that the Claw storyline resolved, and it's not like the Claw storyline was super, like at the end of the day, a lot of Claw was like pretty memey, like in terms of the bad guys that they're up against. But that was the primary storyline that had been growing since season 1. So then season 3, it's clearly going to be more character centric and checking off certain things from Mob's character and everything. But plot wise, there's not that same driving force. So I'll still try and finish it. But we did resolve the main thing. It felt like was the primary plot conflict of Mob. Now we need to solve some character stuff. Bunfagun, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 5 months. Prediction, Luffy's first attack against Gaban will be in Gear 5, in 1140, of course. Ooh, okay, wait, let's get this shit going. Hold on. I'm going to take one of my previous things and just copy it. All right, let's just copy this. Here we go. Chapter 140. Can you guys believe we're at chapter 1140? This is fucking insane. People's predictions for 1140. All right, let's change this. This is, I don't know, the numbers are just mind-blowing to me, especially when I go back to, like, see an older One Piece chapter. Like, I was looking at 1096 the other day, and I was like, damn, it just feels so recent that chapter dropped. But then you think about it, and it was like, it was, is it over 2 years ago? A year and a half at the very least ago now? It just feels strange to look back at old chapters and think about what you were thinking about back then, what was going on. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that much time has passed. I even look back at like a lot of Wano chapters and I can remember what I was thinking and feeling when they came out. And I'm like, holy shit, that was a long ass time ago. Yeah. All right, here we go. Okay. So your prediction, Bunfagam, you're saying he starts it in Gear 5th. I think that's a good prediction. Luffy starts fight against Gaban in Gear 5. Because Luffy at this point, I remember when Luffy first started, when Luffy used Gear 5 against Lucci, there's a lot of comments about like, what the fuck, what's happening? He's using Advanced Conqueror's Haki. Is Lucci, like, does this even make sense? Like, should he be using this against Lucci and stuff like that? And I think now it's just become apparent that Luffy just likes using Gear 5. It's just his favorite way to fight. If anything, it's kind of an anomaly when he doesn't use Gear 5 at this point in time. Like, he fucking used Gear 5 fighting against the rabbit and the snake. And keep in mind, that rabbit and snake, those are creatures that he could probably have one-shotted in fucking Chapter 1 of the story. Chapter 1 of the story, he beats a snake that's essentially the same size as a sea king that's essentially the same size as those creatures, right? So yeah, he just likes using Gear 5 pretty often. Like, he'll use it against Lucci, he'll use it against fucking random animals and shit like that. He'll use it when he really doesn't need to. Like, he fucking started in Gear 5 against Lucci, but started in base and Gear 4th against Kizaru. So, Batman for real, thanks to 2. Where are you in Sakamoto Days? Did you drop? I was at the roller coaster part, so really not far. I was at the roller coaster part. I then started. I can only focus on one series at a time. So I was kind of peeking into Mob around that same time because you guys pushed me to do so. So I was kind of peeking into Mob around that same time, and then it was like, okay, well now Sakamoto Days is really, Mob is really getting me hooked, and I'm enjoying it. So then I kept watching Mob more, and then Sakamoto Days got put on hold. I'm probably gonna finish Mob fairly soon, so I'm probably gonna be back into Sakamoto Days fairly soon as well, I imagine. But I'm trying to figure out, should I watch the anime or read the manga? Nerve MV Maker, thanks for the 10. If Zoro and Sanji are supposed to be legends, Oda shouldn't have sidelined them for 400 chapters. I fear that instead of building Sanji up, Oda is dragging Zoro down to the bum trio tier. I see what you guys are saying. And I will always agree that Oda needs to have done more for the Straw Hats at this point in the story. It is just bizarre. It's bizarre storytelling to set up. Like, you close out the time skip with, oh, this site's working slow these days. Or today specifically. Maybe if I try the not colored version. All right, hold on. Come on. Give me the chapter. Chapter 589. Whoops, 589. Like, okay. I assume that this will pull up the shit I need, right? Yeah. Oda closes out the time skip, the pre-time skip, with this, right? This is it. This is the whole culmination of everything. Like, the entire first act of One Piece, and arguably culminates in this moment, right? Luffy's story, the Straw Hat story, it's this. This is it. He's closing out with this, right? And then, like, a few chapters later, like, the ending scene of the pre-time skip is... Fuck, one chapter too far. Is this, right? This is the ending scene. It's this. Like, it's a whole spectrum. Spectrum is literally what it's called. Like, the chapter before this, 595. It's going through all the Straw Hats, all of their setup for the post-time skip. This is what it's closing out with, and then finally Luffy's scene. It's just so... the story's always been so Straw Hat-centric, and the entire writing leading up to the time skip was so Straw Hat-centric. Like, it's just like, this is what the whole story's about, right? It's not just Luffy. That's what it's emphasizing, almost. Like, it's literally screaming. It's not just Luffy. Luffy doesn't work without the rest of them. And then what happens post-time skip is we go fucking 400 chapters where the Straw Hats are basically NPCs. They're fucking just there in the background. And then they get thrown in, airdropped in to have some fights in Wano when they do jack shit in Act 1 and Act 2. Right? And then do jack shit in Egghead. Zoro beats Lucci again after Luffy already beat him. Besides that, they're not really doing jack shit, right? Like, it's just... I feel like Oda really neglected them. I feel like... How do I say this, though? I think that pre-time skip One Piece was strongest in terms of, like, the character writing, the main characters, the stories, etc. Post-time skip, so far, has been strongest in terms of, like, really the world focus, setting up these bigger plot lines, the grander outside stuff, very side faction focus, side character focus, stuff like that. I think that, and really setting up the stage of, like, a giant world war, to the detriment, I'd say, of the Straw Hats, and even to Luffy. Because while Luffy ultimately gets a shit ton of screen time post-time skip, it's a fraction of the character writing that he got pre-time skip. Like, pre-time skip, he was always... Like, there was always an undercurrent of Luffy having to, like, grow in some way, right? It was just constant, right? Between Alabasta, that whole, like, the whole Baroque Works saga, right? The Ennis Lobby storyline, obviously, and then the whole Marineford saga. Like, even Luffy's always growing back then. He's not grown jack shit. He's not grown one iota post-time skip. It just hasn't happened, right? However, I feel like that's largely because now we're in the final act of One Piece, and it seems like this act is where Oda really reserved all of his story, like, remaining storytelling ideas for the primary characters. You already see it in Elbaf coming together, right? Oda's clearly writing significant character setups for all the Straw Hats here. We're not bogged down by a shit ton of side characters here. I think that this is the arc where we really get back to the roots of, like, I feel like the way I'd view it is this, like, if Grand Line, like, the first half of the Grand Line was very Straw Hat-centric, and then the world-building stuff was stuff that's happening in the background, right? And then second part, like, the Fishman Island through, let's say, Wano, right? That was very much outside world-centric and really building up this gigantic world war, etc., with the Straw Hats still existing and being the vehicle for us to learn all this, but them not getting as much story time or story-centric focus as the main characters, right? Then I feel like this final saga that we're at is the merging, where now Oda gets to really circle back to the storytelling and character writing that he wants to do with the Straw Hats, but he's already got all of the giant world war shit set up, so now that can all come together at the same time. Like, it was a balance of what he was trying to do, I feel like, a balance of what he was trying to do character writing wise, and then larger plot setup wise, and the first half skewed one way, and then the second half, or the first third of the story skewed one way, the second third skewed another way, and then I think he set up everything he needs to set up that this final third can be the best One Piece can be, where we're gonna get all that epic, large-scale World War stuff with all these factions and crazy shit all set up, but at the same time, This is also where he's going to finally start delivering on the character setups that he had for the Straw Hats from the beginning of the story, with their dreams, with their character conclusions, their internal conflicts, all of that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's just, you can't, with a story like One Piece where Oda's trying to do so many things, you ultimately can't do everything at the same time. I feel like the one area where he really could have tightened things up is just resisted the urge to add side characters for the sake of adding side characters. Because, like, I get it. Like, if you're in post-time skip One Piece, and, like, if Oda's writing this shit, and he's like, yeah, I really want to set up, like, all these major players, like, where we at? Like, I want to focus more on all these major players. I want to set up Kobe's storyline, Sabo, Revolutionaries, blah, 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 and, like, people of Wano, Law, Kid. I want to set up all these Supernova storylines and stuff. That's all good. Like, that's great. But then each arc also has a shit ton of characters that are very, very forgettable and very unnecessary as well. I feel like if you could have controlled that urge, that might have allowed the Straw Hats some more room to breathe and move the story along a little bit faster. But, like, no story's perfect, right? All right, anyway, continuing on. I agree that he shouldn't have sidelined Zoro and Sanji or the Straw Hats in general for so long, but I think we're at a point in the story where they're going to be pushed back into prominence. Jordan Taylor, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 28 months, man. Not terribly interesting, but do you think Ring Longland was foreshadowing how the world used to be one big continent that turned into islands? I do think that Ring Longland definitely foreshadowed that, but I think it did it more so in terms of, like, oh, it's like the flooding idea, and then I think the idea that it was once literally all one big continent is a revelation kind of on top of that. So, how to explain? Like, people had so many pieces of it. I think the one big piece that people were really missing was just the fact that there's been 2 huge resets. I feel like most people were not onto that part of it. So because of that, there was a lot of people who would talk about how, like, there's evidence that One Piece was once one giant singular continent. And a lot of people talk about how there's a lot of evidence that, the Red Line was created artificially. And a lot of people talk about how there's evidence that the world has been flooded to some degree. But these were all sort of pieces that in some ways couldn't quite all click together naturally until the reveal that it's happened twice. So now there's 2 huge moments wherein the world shifted. And with there being 2 huge moments that the world shifted, now everything sort of falls into place. So Oda was really hiding that part. So stuff like Ring Longland, even Water 7, even Wano, they gave us hints at 2 different concepts of what the world structure once was. Like, you can look at Wano and you see an island that is kind of broken into little pieces. But you also look at Wano and you're like, well, you also see an island that is, the majority of it is actually flooded underwater. So Oda's hinting at 2 different things there. I feel like Long Ring is in a similar boat. XG4, thanks a lot. Usopp is kidnapped with kids. Usopp is kidnapped with kids. Must defeat Gunko, difficult women Perona, and inspires the next generation of giants and becomes a legend. I would assume... Also, first, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Let's get the stream likes up to 100. I would assume that Usopp... how do I say this? I would assume that mostly what you're talking about is Usopp getting kidnapped. Unless you're saying, like, he also defeats Gunko next chapter. That could happen. But I doubt Oda would do that right off the bat. So I'm going to say Usopp gets kidnapped. Oh, fuck. I forgot to give you credit, Nerve and V-Maker. Right? Nerve and V-Maker. Okay, here we go. My bad. Oh, no. It was before this. It was Bunfagum. My bad, Bunfagum. All right, here we go. All right. And then after that... No. Was it Bunfagum? Yeah, it was Bunfagum. Here we go. Usopp is kidnapped with kids. K04. Yeah, I could see that happening. But I feel like Usopp staying on Elbaf, I like that idea too. Just because there's so much potential for, like, interactions, etc. Tom says, remember it's because I spammed that Morj watch and fell in love with Mob. I did end up liking Mob a lot. Bassam El Madawi, thanks for the 5. Not for next chapter. Imagine in the final war, the former Roger Pirates led by Garp showing up and defending the Straw Hats like the Whitebeard crew in Marineford. That would be badass, That would be badass, but I almost kind of just want them to just step back and chill for this one. I almost don't need... If Gaban is relevant in Elbaf in a similar way that Rayleigh was in Saboti, I would enjoy that. But the Final War, I'm almost like... The Roger Pirates are too significant in a way that... Like, they are the legends who already did everything they needed to do in the old era. I kind of want this to be the Straw Hats thing. It's kind of the same way that, like, Garp, I feel like he already got to show out as much as I need to see him show out in today's age during the Hachinosu raid. If Garp... Outside of God Valley, I want to see what everyone can do, right? But that was in their primes. I'm saying from here on to the rest of the story, I don't think I really need to see Garp do anything else. I'd be cool if he never fights again, because we already got an extended mini arc of him just kicking ass, right? I'm good with that. I think Rayleigh, the whole Kizaru sequence, and then literally training Luffy for 2 years, I'm good with that. I think he has contributed as much as he needs to contribute to the modern day. I kind of just don't want the Roger Pirates. It wouldn't be stealing the spotlight because obviously the Straw Hats would be the biggest deal at the end of the story. But it's almost just like I don't even need them to be there at all, if that makes sense, you know? Like, yeah, I just don't even need them to be there at all. I think that's my only thought. Anyway. King J, thanks a lot. Prediction: Shamrock and Gunko pulls up again at the castle. Another prediction is that Luffy versus Gaban gets interrupted, possibly by the Knights. All right, I could see that. Shamrock and Gunko pull up again at the castle. I agree with that. I think that will happen just because of the summoning circle shit. I'll do these as 2 separate ones. No, I'll say it's an extended one. Pull up at the castle, potentially interrupting Luffy versus Gaban. Let's say that's the full prediction and makes it a little bit more concrete. Yeah, and we want some specificity too. Jolly D Joestar, thanks for bringing a Yonko to your for 2 months. Always good to see you. Whole Cake Island has great Luffy character development. We see him actively stay in the mirror world to make himself stronger. Luffy wouldn't have done this before. I am sorry. I am mistaken. I sometimes leave out Whole Cake Island mentally when I'm talking about post-time skip arcs. The reason Whole Cake Island is so good, and in my opinion, Whole Cake or Egghead, best post-time skip arc to me. Whole Cake Island is the only true Straw Hat-centric arc. Like, the reason Whole Cake is so good is because to me, Whole Cake reads very much like what One Piece used to be, where it's not just like it's not a shit ton, like it's not a giant collage of characters like the Straw Hats amidst like 50 different island-based characters or whatever, with like 10 different storylines going on. It is very tightly focused on the Straw Hat crew and the dynamics of the Straw Hat crew, and gives a very personal and emotional storyline. Like, everything that Luffy was emotionally going through in the middle of Whole Cake Island is not something you saw even like a shred of over the course of Wano, because there was just no deeply personal affecting scenes for Luffy over the course of that storyline. Same with like fucking Fishman Island, Punk Hazard, even Dressrosa. Like, Luffy gets mad by the end of Dressrosa. I think what Oda finally managed to do with Luffy and Bellamy towards the very end, that was effective shit. I liked what Oda was doing with Luffy and Bellamy towards the end of that. It's just that it came so late in Dressrosa. But Whole Cake was from start to finish a Straw Hat-centric storyline, and it's the only one that's been like that post-time skip, which is still why I hold Whole Cake in very high esteem. Egghead is complicated for me to compare to the other arcs because the side character writing is just so damn good. Like, so much good shit happened. Like, in terms of hype, it's amazing. Kuma's storyline, amazing. I think I still need to see where Kuma's storyline goes, because if Kuma just ends up perfectly right and healed and everything, then I will basically view his backstory in a very different light. It just becomes one very long, extended Pell sequence. I think Egghead, a lot of how I view it depends honestly on how Kuma's story goes, because to me, Egghead genuinely was defined by Kuma's story. So what the fallout of Kuma's story is, and if Oda was actually playing that legit, the sense of tragedy around this man, then that will kind of determine how I overall, in the long term, view Egghead. But at the moment, I would say either Egghead or Whole Cake. I think coming out of Egghead, I kind of had it like top 5, top 6. I think now, the further I feel uncertain about the Kuma stuff, I have more difficulty placing Egghead. But Egghead was not good because of the straws. It was good because of everything else. But then at the end of the day, character writing is, I think, one of Oda's strongest suits. And his ability to really play off emotion like that. So Whole Cake was the last time he really managed to do that with the Straw Hats. I know he can still do it because he did it with Whole Cake. So I just have high hopes that Elbaf is going to be where it comes together, you know? And I agree with the Luffy character writing in Whole Cake. I agree. I apologize for that. I apologize. I was incorrect. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Alexis G, thanks a lot. Fight is interrupted by God Knight attacking school. Okay, we could say that. That is distinct enough from King J's. Luffy / Gaban fight interrupted by God's Knights attacking school. The one thing about this, Alexis, is that I feel like they're so far away geographically now because they have to take a whole boat to get over to the castle. I don't know if they'll be able to make it back to the school in time for anything. Dick so small, I piss on a balls, thanks for the 5. A Holy Knight arrives either bearing the name Dracula or resembling Mihawk. That would be insane. A Holy Knight shows up either named Dracula or being visually similar to Mihawk. That would be insane. That is a really, really cool prediction. You know who Zora's fighting this arc. Let me throw this out. Let me ask you guys this. First, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick. Second, let me ask you guys this. Do you guys think, how do I say this? Do you guys think that they succeed overall in their plan to, first of all, let me ask this. Are they going back to the castle or not? Are the God's Knights going back to the castle or not? Yes. No. Second, do you think they will overall succeed in their plan to steal the children? It's a fairly specific plan that sets them up for library shit. So either they get to the castle, either the summoning circle at the castle is necessary for them to pick up a third God's Knight, or they can just summon easily regardless of the summoning circle. If they can summon easily without the summoning circle, then they're probably going straight to the library. If they need that summoning circle and they can't just make a new one, then going back to the castle, then to me that almost implies that they will succeed in some way because they're going to go back to the castle, pull in a third God Knight, right? So that's going to most likely happen because we will get to see that third God Knight, which means that they should successfully interrupt things to some degree enough that they can pull off a summoning. And then from there, maybe they're headed to the school. I don't know. Let's see. I hope they go back to... either way they go, there's something interesting that happens. Gobble D Snuts, thanks for a parking tier member for 4 months. The next God's Knight to arrive is a big guy. I could see that. We're on an island of big guys. Bring someone to match. The next God's Knight to arrive is a big guy. Batman for real, thanks for the 5. I've lost love for One Piece, not because of Oda, but because of people like you. So much constant negativity about post-time skip. Congratulations, I guess. I don't even know how to respond to that, man. You're watching me. What does that even mean? What does that mean? Batman for real, you've been a viewer for a while, man. You've been a viewer for a while. If I'm negatively affecting your... I don't even know how to say this, because, I literally dropped a video not, 6 months ago calling Egghead Island a masterpiece. I think I generally... I don't even know what to say about this, because, if you think I'm a channel that exclusively talks negatively about One Piece, I think you miss 9 out of 10 of my videos. The vast majority of my videos, I could literally go to my channel right now and go through my last 20 videos. I'd say maybe 1 or 2 are genuinely critical of the series. The majority celebrates the majority of my channel celebrates One Piece. I genuinely talk I love this series overall wholeheartedly. I wouldn't be doing this and talking so much about I love this series from the literally from the bottom of my heart. constant negativity, I genuinely feel like that is a extreme exaggeration, because all that's happening is that there are specific aspects of the series that I don't think are as strong as they once were, right? And any time that I talk about those then get taken as basically like, well, if you mention anything that's not good, it's a constant stream of negativity. It's insane. Like, yeah, if Wano comes up, I will generally say negative things about Wano. My streams are not entirely talking about Wano. If you're being honest and actually breaking down like percentage of time I spend talking about Wano, I don't know what percentage of runtime it makes up of my streams. I almost never fucking talk about it in videos. Like, I don't know what you're talking about here. Like, maybe if I have a particularly long Wano rant in a stream, maybe it'll go for 15 minutes, which means that 5% of a stream may not be like 100% or like 10% of a given stream may not be positive about One Piece. 10% of a stream once in a while talking about something that I don't like. That is, if that's your metric for constant negativity, I literally don't know what to say. I'm not going to pretend that was like an arc that is good in my opinion, but at the same time, I'm not going to really talk about it that much unless prompted, which sometimes supers prompt that. I don't know what to say. Like, if you're genuinely I don't know what to say, because I just don't like the implication that if you say anything, even sporadically, about things that you don't appreciate about the series, then it's just a stream of constant negativity. That's a you thing. If hearing anything that isn't just wholeheartedly positive gets blown up in your mind to be a constant stream of negativity, that's on you. I'm not going to change what I'm doing to cater to how much like your need for like 100% positivity towards a series. That's all I got to say, man. I don't know. Let's continue on. Where are we at? Isis1155, thanks for the 5. Prediction: Gabon is a master of observation Haki. P.S. The mods want me to be mod, so listen to the people all. I can make you mod. You've been around for a while. I could do that. Gabon being a master of observation Haki. I think that's an interesting, because I don't know if Gabon... So Gabon did get to the castle faster than everybody, right? So that's a possibility that he is better at observation Haki than the Straw Hats, right? I think at the same time... Oh, whoops. Next God's Dead to arrive as a big guy. Let me make sure I get that in. Gobbled East Nuts. Mods want me to mods. No, we covered this. Gabon being a master of observation Haki. The thing is that, like, so based on what he just did, that's very, very possible. At the same time, Gabon is not quite like Sanji. He's not quite like Sanji in that, like, if you look at Luffy, Zoro, and Sanji, it kind of makes a lot of sense that Sanji would be the one that specializes in observation Haki, or that happens to be his greatest strength. Because Sanji often is, out of that trio, the one who's kind of like a bit more, he doesn't rush into things as much. He does tend to be a bit more observant, sharp, a little bit smarter up here, thinks through things, comes up with like plans or ideas. Like, he's a little bit more of the resourceful one, right, in that trio. If I look at the Roger, Rayleigh, Gabon trio, and like in general, characters that tend to be strong with observation Haki kind of fit a similar mold if you think about it. In that, like, Katakuri, very, very, like, he's not a very headstrong character. Like, he's a very, he is obviously observant is a silly thing to say, but he is a very, very intelligent, level-headed character, right? Good decision-making, right? More along the lines of Sanji. Fujitora falls into a similar category, right? Shanks, who has really good future sight, falls into a similar category, right? So there's this trend in terms of who tends to have really good observation Haki, right? Luffy obviously developed it because he had his own sort of personal spin on what makes him good at observation Haki, which is that Luffy is good at emotionally. He does have like some actual good sense of emotional intelligence in his own way. Not in many ways, but in his own way, and that leads to him being able to tap into some good observation haki. And Luffy's just naturally talented at everything. But if you look at Scopper Gaban, his actual character, while he does have some parallels to Sanji, and he's the analog to Sanji, right? If I were to guess between Gaban and Rayleigh, Rayleigh strikes me as the character that would be a lot better at observation haki than someone like Gaban. Because they're not exact Zoro and Sanji just clones, and that's also what I like about them a lot. Gaban is very much, if you just go through his earlier chapters, like a lot of, like, go read Strong World again, go read 1096, go read stuff from the Odin flashback. Gaban is like, he is somewhat of a, like, aggressive, headstrong character himself, right? I think people are focusing a lot on the little panel that he had here where he's arguing with Roger to assess the risks, and that's definitely the case. But if you go back and look at Gaban's overall characterization, he's also a fairly aggressive, headstrong dude that likes to rush into things and welcomes that sort of thing. So it almost is like, well, Roger's just even more like that than him, but don't get it twisted. Gaban is in that same vein. So Gaban is just like, I think it'd be interesting if he is good at observation haki. You know, Sanji's good at observation haki. There's an analog there. But I wouldn't be surprised if that's not actually a specialty, and his specialty is something more like offensive, like armament or something like that. I don't know. Let's see. I don't think Oda has hard and fast rules, though, in terms of like who. This is just a trend I'm noticing in terms of who tends to be the characters that are skilled at observation haki. And it's just like Gaban, he seems like that might not necessarily be his thing. He does seem to be a bit more rambunctious of a character and not as much like the wise guy in the group like really it's kind of been portrayed to be. Let's see. I almost wouldn't want Gaban to be good at observation haki because like he has his own thing, you know? I don't know. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 100 real quick because we're almost there. ZMP23, thanks for 2. A third Holy Knight appears and it's NL. That is a bold one, man. That's a bold one. If you get that one right, you have some sort of clairvoyance. Third Holy Knight appears, and it's Edo. ZMP 323. Not a Pro 64, thanks to 2. Gaban doesn't have Conqueror's Haki. I wouldn't be surprised, but the thing is, with Gaban's personality, it almost is more fitting that he'd have Conqueror's Haki than Sanji. But I feel like if Oda's not giving Sanji Conqueror's Haki, he wouldn't give Gaban Conqueror's Haki. So it's tricky. We'll find out some things. If Gaban does have Conqueror's Haki, this opens up a whole new discussion about Sanji and Conqueror's Haki. A whole new discussion. I have personally been on the train for a little bit that I don't think, or not for a little bit, for a long time that I don't think Sanji is written like a character to have Conqueror's Haki. I think not as many people would push for Sanji to have Conqueror's Haki if not for the fact that Zoro's Conqueror's Haki. But, and I don't know what Gaban having Conqueror's Haki now means for Sanji potentially having Conqueror's Haki or not, if Gaban does. However, one of the reasons, at least as of late, that I felt more and more like Sanji's unlikely to have Conqueror's Haki is because unlike Luffy and Zoro, Oda has done almost nothing to try and progress Sanji in terms of Haki. You know what I mean? So it feels odd to me that Oda would be playing up Sanji's genetic cyborg enhancements as his way to kind of like, instead of just having Sanji get better armament Haki or something last arc, he chose instead to say that Sanji's whole body is a lot stronger now because of his exoskeleton stuff, which I thought was interesting. To me, that's an indicator that Oda's just not trying to really progress him that much, at least in terms of armament, and therefore down the line on Conquerors. That's my feeling at the moment, but if Oda proves me wrong, like I still think that'd be really cool for the character. That's just my feeling so far, that Oda's been trying to go an alternate route for Sanji that only seems like an alternate route he would go down if he's trying to find ways to have Sanji keep up with Luffy and Zoro without giving him the Haki boosts that they're set to get over the course of the story. Kush did 711, thanks to the 2. Gaban used Advanced Conqueror's Haki or Voice of All Things on Luffy. I can put down, well, I guess that's the reverse of what Not a Pro 64 said. Um, Gaban uses advanced conquerors or via of all things on Luffy. Kush did 7-11. That's funny. King J, thanks a lot. I don't know if this counts as a good prediction, but I think that Oda's way of making Gaban look good at this age will be by giving him the upper hand against Luffy in forms outside of Gear 5th. I think that's a specific enough prediction. Gaban gets upper hand on Luffy in forms besides Gear 5. So you're predicting that basically Gear 5th is where Luffy will pull ahead. Let's get the stream likes to 150 real quick. King J, thanks a lot. While no one else, including Luffy, noticed it, Gaban sends Shamrock and Gunko. Yeah, that's a big thing. Observation Haki seems to be a strong suit. He could be weaker than Luffy and still not let Luffy land a hit. If that is what happens, I think that's pretty cool. Like, I can add that into this prediction. I'll just add that in this. Luffy struggles to land a hit. I think that's cool. I think Observation Haki is also one of the routes in which Gaban can still look good in a fight with Luffy without making it seem like Gaban is stronger than Luffy. Because, just straight up, I think if at this point in the story Luffy still legitimately struggles against old Gaban, I think it would be he might just have to hang it up, you know? I think it might just not be in the cards for him to become Pirate King. That's no offense to Gaban. It's just like straight up, like we kind of saw where Rayleigh stacks at this point in time, you know, in Sabaody. And while that was really cool at that point in time, Luffy should be past that, you know? So, even if Gaban is straight up exactly equal to Rayleigh, Luffy still should not struggle with Gaban if Luffy is actually trying at this point in time. However, if it's a situation where Luffy just really struggles to hit Gaban and therefore struggles to get the key because Gaban's observation Haki is so good, I think that would be a cool way to hype up Gaban for sure. Alright, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 7 months. What do you think about Luffy's final power-up being Haki, but instead of being based on strength of will, it's dreams, in reference to your video about the mural? If you guys haven't seen that mural video, I still strongly encourage you guys to see it. Luffy's final power-up being Haki. I think Luffy's final power, Luffy's final power-up arguably is that already, right? What is the Nika fruit? The Nika fruit is a fruit that is purely based on the power of one's imagination. It's the most imaginative devil fruit. It's the devil fruit that's based on, like, just whatever you think of, you can create. So the Nika fruit, like, it's the two aspects of Luffy's strength are already symbolized, in my opinion. The fruit that he's always had from the beginning symbolizes his dreams, the power of his dreams, right? Like, he can become and do anything that he dreams. And then his Haki represents his actual willpower and conviction, right? At this point in the story, I think the implication is that he has likely tapped the full, like, he's got it. He's at the full extent of his dream power now that he's got Gear 5. His possibilities are limitless in terms of what he can do. But he still needs to get his Haki up. He still needs to get his Haki up. That's what was kind of emphasized at the end of the Kaido fight, which is like, it's like Kaido's basically saying, like, it's cool you've got this dream fruit or like this crazy fruit that lets you do all this crazy shit, but you're not going to be the number one guy unless you've actually got the Haki to back it up, because at the end of the day, that's what matters even more. So I feel like we're already seeing the full realization of what Luffy's, like, dreams and imagination can do. Angel Rise, thanks for the 2. Morj, I love watching you. Bollywood dance when? I just don't know if that's happening, man. Don't know if that one's ever happening, but I appreciate it, Angel. Hi, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 1 month. Dumb prediction, but Gaban will display observation Haki coded with Conquerors, similar to Shanks' Future Sight Killer. Don't ask me how, but he will. Hey, I'll put it down. We don't know the extent of what you can do with Haki at this point in time. You guys got to remember, because now it's so... I think people just forget. People really just forget, but now it's so commonplace. Like, now we just fully understand that Conqueror's Haki is Conqueror's Haki is an offensive technique, right? Like it's something you can use to just straight up fight and box with characters, right? And it's the ultimate offensive technique. Before Wano, that wasn't a thing that was something that people talked about. Like, it just wasn't a thing. It literally was like, you couldn't bring that up in power scaling debates or anything like that, or like just even as a concept. It was like, maybe Conqueror's Haki is like another special use or something. That was kind of the vibe, but it was also just like, yeah, but that's just like really theoretical. We really don't know if that's a thing or not. Like, whatever. It was just understood that they all have their own specific thing. Armament, that's the one that's for hitting. That's for attacks. Observation, that's the one for, predictions, reading, everything like that. And then Conquerors was just like the aura thing. That's the thing that's a symbolic. It was generally viewed as symbolic more than anything, and it was just like a flex, and really good for fodder and crowd control. And it was like, it's symbolic of what you are, but it's not like ultimately in combat, it's armament and observation that matters more. Like, you can really go back and read discussions and like past videos and all of that stuff. Like, it wasn't even like common in terms of like theories and stuff like that like there's some other level of conquerors, because we just had nothing. Like, literally no character had displayed anything at all with Conqueror's Haki as an attack up to that point. It turns out that characters were doing that, like when Shanks and Whitebeard split the sky, they were doing that with Conquerors. We just didn't know at that point in time, largely because it looks visually identical to armament, which actually, funnily enough, is still the fucking problem, which is it still looks generally the fucking same as armament. But yeah, that's the thing. And like, I think most people did not expect, because armament was already the one that we understood to be the one that's like punching and hitting and creating an invisible armor and force field around you. Most people didn't really expect that Conquerors, even in its offensive use, would basically be the same thing as armament. It's just armament 2.0. So I think that was what really threw people too, which is that all of the offensive techniques we've ever seen in One Piece prior to Wano were ascribed to armament Haki. And so there was no character ever really showed anything that would give us an insight into like, oh wait, they're using Conqueror's Haki as an attack right there, because everything just seemed like armament. Wano was the first time that we were given a distinction. So I'm never going to say that some prediction as to what can or can't be like a new Haki technique is crazy, because we just literally didn't fucking, like, people just fucking forget how we had no idea what the actual uses of Conqueror's Haki were until Oda revealed it. Like, he can reveal pretty much anything about these branches of Haki down the line, and they would all be valid. Anyway, continuing on. Hold on a second here. Let me try and move a little faster. Angel Raz, thanks for the 5. On a real note, I don't trust people who can't criticize things they love. Look, this isn't to pile on to Batman or anything, because Batman, I know you've been a long-time viewer and stuff like that, but I just don't even know what to say to that. It's like, you've been watching my streams for so long, man. I generally, like, I don't bring up stuff I don't like unless that stuff specifically comes up, and generally I do speak, like, I literally don't know what to say. If you go through all my latest videos, I know the one video that I did recently, in the last like 10 videos that I've done, 20 videos that I've done, that is not actually positive about One Piece, which is the Kuma, or not the Kuma thing. Yeah, the Saul thing. That's it. Once in a while, I am going to say, I don't like this thing about the series. I can also not like one arc. I can dislike the Wano arc. That's okay. I'm not going to like every single arc. I don't know what to say. I think it's unfair to then say that I'm constantly talking negatively about it when it's like, you know that that's not the case. You know that if you were to actually run through like the total, like, forget videos, because videos is just tangibly provable. Like, you would have to scroll and singularly pick out which videos I have that are actually critical of the series and not positive, right? That's by and far the minority, right? If you want to talk about streams where I'm talking more freely, or just more openly in stream of consciousness, yeah, there are going to be stints where I go off for 5 minutes about something that I don't like, or even 10 minutes about something I don't like. But if you were to compare that to the overall runtime of a stream, or like all my streams, it's still like a very, very small percentage. So I think it's just very unfair to basically take like any percentage of me not talk or like me saying something that I view as critical, if you take any percentage of me saying that and then just exaggerate that to say it's a constant stream, I'm just like, I don't know what the fuck to do then, because then I'm like, I'm never allowed to say anything. You're saying that you never want to hear anything except positivity towards it, which is fine, but then just go somewhere else. If you want a stream that's generally always going to be celebrating the series, but from time to time is going to voice things that I didn't enjoy about the series, that's my stream. That's basically, you get what you get, you know? Continuing on. Homs, thanks for the 5. Not this chapter, but I assume the Gods Knights will take the children as hostages while Luffy and company take the Gods Knights as hostage, then trade. That would be a really fucking cool scenario, especially if Gunko turns out to be a character that they, you know, that is actually related in some way to characters that we know, be that Bonnie or like some people are theorizing Kid or something. That could be really, really cool. I'm not going to put that down because that's not a next chapter prediction, but thanks for that idea. Brim, thanks for the 2. Predict Luffy sees Shamrock and thinks it's Shanks. That's the one that we could all definitely see happening. Luffy sees Shamrock and thinks he's Shanks. Brim. L, thanks for the 2, man. Scopper uses Conqueror's Haki Blast like Shanks. I didn't add Hio's prediction to the list. Oh shit, my bad. Thanks. Went off on a tangent on that. I got you, guys. I got you, Virgil. Thank you. I got you. Gabon uses Conquerors combined with Observation to kill Future Sight like Shanks. All right. Sorry about that. L, I don't know if I can add that. Scopper uses Conqueror's Haki Blast like Shanks. I think that's too general. Like, what's a Conqueror's Haki Blast? Like, you're calling that Divine Departure? I think that's just a little too vague. Because some would argue that, it depends on your interpretation of what Divine Departure is. It's definitely an attack using Conqueror's Haki. But, like, say it's a blast or something. I don't know. That's hot water. Chechi Rapalini, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for a month. I hope you're enjoying the podcast. Hi, Morj. I hope you had a nice weekend. I did have a really good weekend. I love your channel and just became a member. I appreciate that. It's CC. Thank you. I think Elbaf will be one of my favorite arcs, loving it so far. Yeah, I think Elbaf so far has been super encouraging to me, not just because of the lore, not just because I love the setting, not just because it's continually surprised, not just because Loki is easily the most interesting, immediately off the bat, interesting island citizen that we've had in a long, long, long time. And the mystery is actually captivating. But because it already feels like all the Strats are getting something set up for them. Like, even Scopper Gabon's introduction in this chapter tells me that Oda has some significance planned for even Sanji this arc. So, like, Luffy, Zoro, Nami already getting focused. Sanji, Scopper Gabon there, Robin, Saul, Frankie, he's interested in the Atom Tree. Usopp, we know, getting something big in Elbaf. Brook and Jinbei are really the only ones that are kind of out there. Even Chopper's trying to learn some new stuff. B, thanks for the 5. Gabon fight is interrupted by the third God Knight being summoned, not by Shamrock and Gunko coming. The summoning doesn't require them to be there. That is a really cool point. I like that a lot. So maybe Shamrock and Gunko head over to the school. So maybe both things happen. Shamrock and Gunko head over to the school, and this third God's Knight is showing up at the castle. I feel bad for that third God's Knight, because he's basically popping in, and he's being airdropped into a room by himself with a Yonko, his first mate, and the left hand of the previous Pirate King. And they're all going to want to fuck him up. So that dude's in for something if he just ends up there. That'd be funny. I did not consider that possibility. Gabon fight interrupted by third God Knight, who, without Shamrock and Gunko being there, being present. That's a great idea. I think that'd be really cool. Because then we're getting both things. I do want to see the interaction between Luffy and Shamrock ASAP, though. So I hope we get that soon still. Isis1155, thanks for the 5. The reason I think that is because he's the only one that noticed the Gods Knights. I think Gaban is more like Yasop, who seems chaotic. That's also possible. Like, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just put it this way. I wouldn't be surprised if Gaban is really, really good at observation Haki, and just, again, the fact that he's there first speaks volumes, unless Oda just did that out of convenience. But his character type is definitely a little bit different than a lot of the other ones who have been really good at observation Haki so far. L, thanks for the 5. Morj can be critical on certain arcs, but has valid points. I mean, that's subjective to everybody, but, like, again, if you're viewing my stream, then you can choose how much you want to engage with those points or not, agree or not. He's the best at analyzing themes, parallels, character arcs, etc. in the One Piece community. I do very much appreciate the praise there. I do really appreciate that. For real. I do appreciate that. If you dislike some of my opinions, because at the end of the day, like, aside from what I think is, like, however I'm analyzing the story, I'm a person who's going to have opinions on what I like and dislike. If you dislike that, or you dislike some of my criticisms, that's okay too. I do think it's unfair to characterize me as constantly being negative about One Piece if I do voice certain things that I don't like, but overall, I'm generally almost always talking the majority of the time about the things I do like. So I just feel like that's unfair, because then that's pigeonholing me into, like, a box of, like, you are never allowed to say anything unless it's purely positive, basically. Jensen Peters, thanks for the 2. Gaban is kidding, doesn't want to fight Luffy. I could honestly see that be a thing too. I could see Oda blueballing us with Gaban, then being like, ha ha ha, I'm just joking, or some shit like that. I could easily see that. Ha ha ha, I'm too old for this shit, or something. I don't know. Gaban is kidding, doesn't want to fight Luffy. We might have to shrink some stuff here. Let's see. Yeah, let me start by shrinking this. I'll finish out over here first. This is an exciting chapter, so we'll probably get a lot of predictions. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 150 real quick. Alexis, thanks a lot. Expanding, they feel the turmoil at school from afar. Meanwhile, the next God's Knight is summoned. Then they split to defend Elbaf. I see. So since some of them go... I'll just add this over here. To defend kids. Some of them split to defend kids. Okay, I could see that. Hiyo, thanks for the 5. I only would like Sanji to get Conqueror's Haki only so that when he gets to upgrade to Ifrit, the Black Lightning mixed with the fire could give him Black Fire. That would be really cool. That would be really, really cool, because he is black like Sanji. Citizen, thanks for the 5. Gaban will fight Luffy in a way where he goads him into using more of Gear 5's power, such helps him unlock new abilities. That could be cool, like a little bit of a secret, unintentional training. Gaban fights Luffy in a way that lures Luffy into realizing/using more of Gear 5 abilities that he didn't realize. That's a cool idea. Like Gaban training through combat. JWP! Oh, shit. Where are we at? JWP, thanks for being a Pirate King tier member for 26 months. And as always, thank you for coming through the stream, man. Always appreciate seeing you. I don't have a prediction, but I'm definitely on the train of Gaban being an observation Haki master. Hoping Zoro and Sanji get an upgrade to their observation this arc. I feel like they need it. I think Zoro and Sanji both need it. I think Zoro, especially if he's going to be up against Shiryu, it would be really useful. And Sanji... it's just like, he's not advanced in any area of Haki just yet. I feel like he should be, even if Oda doesn't want to advance him in observation and conquerors, he should get an advancement in, armament or conquerors. He should get an advancement in observation because that's his specialty, and like he should just be innately more skilled than he should have some advanced variant of that. You know what I mean? I feel like with Oda, with Sanji's offensive abilities, I feel like Oda hasn't... it's hard to say if Sanji will get improvements in like armament and conquerors, because those are things that Oda can always technically just have Sanji upgrade his Germa abilities with, right? Like Ifrit is something that has tremendous firepower that Oda was able to come up with for Sanji without having him learn armament Haki. It's not quite the same for Luffy and Zoro, because they're at a stage where the only way Zoro can get stronger attacks is like improving his Haki, basically, right? Only way Luffy can improve the strength of his attacks is improving his Haki. Oda can do whatever he wants with Sanji to improve his offensive abilities because he's this exception in terms of like the type of body type he is, right? So there is that, which is why I'm never going to be certain if Oda's going to decide that like I need to start improving Sanji's armament ever since he introduced the Germa exoskeleton and the Ifrit stuff. But it would be really good for him. I'd say observation is the area that I feel like he definitely should get a boost. There's no reason for him not to. That should be his thing. Continuing on. Dara Boppler, thanks a lot. Prediction: Gaban uses the key like a giant axe. That'd be hilarious. Gaban uses the key like a giant axe. Dare Boppler. Also, let's get the stream links up to 150 real quick. Classic Trading, thank you for the 10. Prediction: back to the Harley texts, and in the fourth world, Morj releases the Wano analysis. Okay, I'm gonna put down the Harley text thing. I'm gonna leave out the other part of it. Back to the Harley texts. Count Dogula, thanks for 2. Shamrock pretends to be Shanks. I could see that. I don't think Shamrock would ever lower himself to that actually. But we who knows how wily this guy is. King J, thanks a lot. Prediction: third Holy Knight will be a swordsman. Not gonna happen this chapter, but the perfect person to counter Gunko's arrows could be Scopper. That's a good point too. And I'm surprised nobody mentioned the third Holy Knight being a swordsman, because a lot of people right off the bat, I think, we're talking about how this could be like a Zoro opponent. I would also add that I just feel like if we get a scenario where like Luffy, Zoro, and Nami are facing Shamrock, Gunko, and let's say third God's Knight, let's pretend hypothetically swordsman, right? I think that there's something symbolic there in that I've been saying I feel like Gunko, like Luffy, Shamrock, that's already an interesting dynamic. Zoro and let's say a God's Knight swordsman, again, interesting dynamic right there. I've said it before, Gunko having an ability that's based on arrows and set directions and kind of setting literally setting a route to her attacks, that's symbolically an interesting little counterpart with Nami right there. I don't think anybody's really like, people aren't really running with that idea, I think, just because I think people are more interested in, a lot of people are like, oh, maybe Zoro's going to fight Gunko and stuff. But now that we got a third God's Knight coming, I imagine that would be a more interesting opponent for Zoro. And I don't know, I don't know if Nami's going to fight Gunko or anything, but I feel like symbolically that being like a little triangle that exists there, I think that's a interesting little possibility that Oda might be going for. Anyway. Third God's Knight will be a swordsman. King J. I'm surprised nobody already put that. Luke D. Fernando, I'm just going to answer this real quick because I just saw it. I know I'm skipping some supers. I'll catch them in order. Thanks for the 2-man. How many comedic God's Knights Oda loves his gags? So what I think is interesting is that this is actually very interesting, in my opinion. I feel like the further that we've gone in the story and the more and more significant the opponents, I think we're heading towards fewer and fewer gags for the bad guys. So you know what stood out to be the most about the Gorosei by far out of any enemy group? I think one thing that could have been better on Oda's part is if he just made the Gorosei more successful and like, because they brought such badass energy and such an impressive atmosphere, it just didn't follow through in terms of like what actually then happened and how the Straw Hats then reacted to the situation and how much trouble they actually had, right? Or how much pressure or high stakes they actually felt or fear they felt or whatever, right? But the thing about the Gorosei, they are the first enemy group that we've ever had in One Piece where all 5 of them were treated and portrayed from start to finish as very serious characters with no gags or jokes. There is one small gag with the Gorosei that we learned about in an SBS, which is that Mars, apparently he's always standing because he shows up. It's like a punishment because he shows up late or something like that. There's like some gag that Oda has about Mars. but it's not like a in-story gag. Like we never, like it's like a little side thing that Oda finds funny. It's his own, like it's happening off screen or whatever. So it's a side thing that's funny, but there's no jokes around the Gorosei. The Gorosei have no gags across the board with them as characters. And I think that's something interesting that's been happening is as the story goes on, I think this is like a random little thing. A little aside, you got me on a tangent here. All right, little aside, right? If we look at like Baroque works, we've got a lot of funny, goofy characters here, right? Like I'd say the numbers from fucking like everybody at Whiskey Peak was a fucking joke, right? Like a lot of gag stuff. Like you got Whiskey Peak gag characters. You got Mr. 2. Mr. 3 is funny in his own way. Golden Week is often funny. Mr. 5 duo becomes silly. Mr. 4 duo is gag stuff. I think legitimately only Mr. 1 duo was like a serious duo, right? Mr. 1, no, not like serious badass character. Ms. Doublefinger, good counterpart, right? Crocodile Miss All Sunday too, but they go without saying, right? CP9, I'd say like Skypiea, Priest, you had Satori silly, Gadatsu silly. I don't want to go through all of them, right? But like CP9, similarly, you got gags with Kaku, Jabura, Kumadori, Fukuro. Like honestly, a lot of gags. Like CP9 was a fucking clown show if you think about it outside of Lucci and Bluno. CP9 was a clown show outside of those two. I don't think I need to list him. Thriller Bark, a lot of funny shit across the board, even with Gecko Moria himself. So let's say we get to the New World. When we get to the New World, I'd say Don Quixote family, it had silly stuff, but it was less, right? Don Quixote family had silly characters with Pika. No, even Don Quixote family had a lot of silly gag characters. I'd say maybe the Big Mom Pirates and the Beast Pirates, we started, that's where, I think when we hit the Yonko, that's when we started getting fewer gag characters, right? Like, so if we look at Beast Pirates, who are the silly characters, right? I'd say Queen is kind of funny. Queen, there's jokes and stuff to go with Queen, right? But King and Jack, serious characters. Who's Who, serious character. X-Drake, Sasaki, you could argue. Page 1 and Ulti, like Black Maria is a serious character. I'd say only comedy is from Ulti / Page 1 have comedy, but they aren't silly characters. Their dynamic is just comic relief, right? So the Beast Pirates, Oda's actually, like, he did a lot to cut down the jokes among the Beast Pirates, interestingly enough. Like, he made them more serious across the board. Big Mom Pirates, Katakuri, Smoothie, Cracker, all, like, they're not joke characters. Like, just because Oda might have a joke here or there, like Katakuri as Merienda, overall they're more serious characters. Perispero, Oven, Daifuku. Big Mom has a zany, silly group on the surface, but they're not gag characters. Like Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, those are like Baroque Works is a whole bunch of comedy characters. CP9 is a whole bunch of comedy characters. I genuinely think like once we hit the Yonko Oda really started cutting down like the gag characters. Then we hit the Gorosei, who are across the board 5 very serious characters. Garling continues that trend. The Gods Knights, I would not be surprised if they continue to be serious characters. Blackbeard Pirates is where we're going to get another comedy group, as I think like a bunch of enemies. But yeah, I'm sorry. It was just reflecting, I guess, on that trend a little bit. Sorry for the long tangent. But yeah, I don't know. I think that it's possible Gods Knights just have less joke stuff than previous groups. Just because I think Oda, as the story's progressed and he's getting to his really more serious villain group, like more important villain groups, he might be cutting down the jokes a bit more. Like, kind of, it's like a soft trend that developed over the course of the series. Like, we've just come a long way from the Buggy Pirate crew. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, continuing on. Travis Simmons says gifters. Yeah, so, like, I'm not saying it's gone completely, but that's the thing where, like, a lot of Oda's, like, with the Beast Pirates, it was the bottom rung. Like the gifters are all silly, zany stuff, right? The numbers are kind of silly too. A lot of the headliners are jokes, right? But then you get to the Toby Ropo. Toby Ropo are all serious characters. Ulti and Page 1, they're a comedic. They have comedy in terms of their interactions with each other. I wouldn't even say Page 1 is a comedy character. It's really just Ulti who's got some jokes with her. But Ulti individually is a serious character. And Page 1 individually is a serious character. Like, Page 1, when he was in Act 2 fighting Sanji, nobody was like, Page 1, that's a funny gag character, right? I would say in all of, like, between the, like, a true Oda, like, funny character that's got, like, some memes and jokes around them, that's Queen, who's coming in, like, dancing and doing all of that stuff and, like, talking about how he doesn't want to lose weight, otherwise he'd be too popular. That's Queen, right? So, like, King doesn't really have that. Jack doesn't have that. They have their occasional little gags, like, wait, a dinosaur does that, like with Sasaki and stuff like that, or even with King. But overall, you wouldn't say that they're gag characters, right? Like Queen is more so written for like there's a lot of comedy around Queen and a lot of the way that Oda portrays Queen. Compare that to Baroque Works, where like everyone in Whiskey Peak, there's just like funny, silly gags around them. Mr. 2 is a fucking joke character from start to finish. Mr. 4, like, and Miss Merry Christmas, it's just like their whole dynamic is silly stuff. It's really Mr. 1 and Miss Doublefinger that are kind of serious, right? CP9, all of them are fucking, like, ridiculous. Like, Kumadori, Fukuro, they've just got fucking gag after gag after gag. Khalifa's a bit more serious. Lucci, obviously, very serious. Bluno, very serious. Kaku's obviously always complaining about giraffes and shit like that. Beast Parts are where Oda really tightened up, like, and made more serious group of villains, relatively speaking. Gorosei were the first, like, absolutely serious group. Like, Gorosei are genuinely what you see. Like, the Gorosei as a 5 in terms of temperament are what you tend to see in other anime, right? Where it's just, like, 5 hard-ass, like, villain characters, right? So I'm curious if the Gods Knights are going to be, like... What are the Gods Knights going to be like? Are they going to follow that Gorosei trend, or are they going to have some more zaniness to them? I think Gods Knights might have some more zaniness to them, but the fact that they're on the Celestial Dragon side... Maybe... Here's my thought. Here's my quick thought. Because I know I'm going... Ryzen says, did you forget the helicopter Triceratops? Yeah, I'm not trying to say that they don't have, like, little jokes. Like, even King had a little joke of, like, pulling back his head. But I'm saying the overall vibe and temperament. Like, you read something, like, in comparison, Mr. 2 type dialogue, it's almost all silly stuff, right? Mr. 4, Miss Merry Christmas, it's almost all silly stuff, right? With the Beast Pirates, Oda throws in bits of comedic relief, which is very different. I think Queen is the only character that's very consistently used for jokes, right? I feel like it might be because the Gorsei's are all serious from start to finish. I would not be surprised if the Gorosei and the Gods Knights are also fairly serious enemy groups. I wouldn't be surprised either way with the Gods Knights. Oda might do as usual, like a bunch of silly characters mixed with serious ones. But here's the thing, which is that very often these gag traits tend to make a lot of these characters endearing in some way, right? Like, when you're reading Alabasta, Mr. 2 is a funny character. Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, they're honestly, like, funny and fun to read their dynamic, right? CP9, like, Kaku's a fucking funny, lovable... Like, people like Kaku. He's a funny, lovable character throughout the CP9 arc. Same with a lot of them. Like, Kumadori's fucking hilarious, right? Like, a lot of CP9 characters, they kind of stick out because they're funny, memorable in their own ways. I don't know with the Gods Knights and the Gorosei, because of what they represent, which is the Celestial Dragon side, it's possible that Oda doesn't want to write these characters as funny and endearing. Does that make sense? Like, because they're meant to represent, like, genuine... Like, the Celestial Dragons are a group that, like, take in slaves, like, do absolutely horrific things to them. Like, Bonnie's the fucking product of rape, right? Like, I don't know if Oda's going to introduce a villain group like the Gods Knights and have, like, some quirky, funny Kaku-type character, or Mr. 4 and Miss Merry Christmas, or Mr. 2. At the end of the day, like, even Queen, while a very shitty character, Queen's funny and, like, zany, and, like, he's a fun character to a lot of people because he's got these gags. Does that make sense? Ulti in Page 1, people enjoyed, like... Ulti was a popular type character because she was also, like, funny. She's quirky. She's got some of those aspects to her. Does that make sense? I don't know if... I just don't know if, like, Like, the same way that the Oda's not trying to make the Gorosei endearing in any sense. Like, we might like the Gorosei might become popular characters just because they're badass designs and stuff like that, and maybe they have cool fights down the line, maybe. But I think Oda might have made a point to not try and make them have his usual quirks and silly stuff and silly gags, because it's possible that he just wasn't trying to make them lovable characters in any sense, you know? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yeah, I don't know. That's my thought. I might be wrong. Maybe the Gods Knights are just as silly as other groups, but like, it's just that a lot of these One Piece villain groups, you look at them and it's kind of just like, you can read a scene that's just CP9 and come away from it thinking like, that's like a fun bunch. Like, that's a fun, silly, lovable bunch in a sense, right? Like, obviously they gotta go down, they gotta be defeated, but like, you have fun reading just the CP9 meeting. Baroque Works, you can read their bar scene in Baroque Works, and it's a fun scene. Like, it's a fun, zany scene with a lot of silly characters and stuff like that. Even the Tobiropo, to some degree, you read the Tobiropo meeting scene, and like, they're arguing and bickering with it, and there's some jokes there. I don't know if Oda is ever going to try and do that sort of dynamic with the Gods Knights, because they're Celestial Dragons, and like, or Celestial Dragons or hardcore Celestial Dragon supporters. I just don't know if he wants to go that route with them. I'm purely basing this on how he portrayed the Gorosei. The Gorosei never, ever feel funny. There's never anything light about the Gorosei, because I think they are supposed to ultimately be like, these are 5 Hitlers that we're reading. Essentially supposed to be the feeling, right? Like, these are 5 Hitlers that are on screen, right? They're not supposed to be funny, quirky, endearing or something like that. That's my sense. I don't know. Let's continue. That's my sense. That's my only thought on, like, is there a possibility that the Gods Knights don't have comedy to them? Anyway. Let's continue on. We covered this. Zexistential Crisis, thanks for the 5. Hate to be that guy. Shouldn't Kaido's pants be soiled? Not Kaido's, sorry, I misread that. Loki's pants be soiled. That makes more sense. Shouldn't Loki's pants be soiled? Shit. Like, actually, yeah. It should be pretty bad. What's going on there? Oh my god. He must smell really bad. Like, oh my god. That is actually awful to think about. Do people feed him? What happens there? Also, does he have... I see your comment has some comments underneath it. Can I see it? No, I guess it's too far back. Yeah, I don't know. I've got nothing to say on that. Also, let's get the stream likes up to 200. Let's get to you. I think you're right. Akash Bannon, thanks for the 5. What if Oda is trolling us and Shanks' observation killing is just Gomu Gomu Airhead that Luffy uses against Eno? It's practically the same thing. Maybe, I don't know. Shanks seems like he's a thinker though when he fights. Like, we saw that there's a lot of thought going on when he was taking on Kid. Like, we saw his full thought process in him seeing the future. Maybe you mean like when he's trying to stop other people from seeing the future, he makes his head completely empty. But I don't think that's the case, just because like we already saw the weakness of that technique of Luffy, because you can't fight back when you're doing that. So like, it's not actually effective in combat. Kino the Far, thanks for the 5. Hey Morj, long time no super. No worries, man. I hope your life's going good. I know you hit a string of misfortunes. Hope all is well. No bad news today. Yeah, good for you, man. Still employed, but trying to be happy. Maybe there's a hole behind Loki in the tree. To shit in? Yeah, actually, let's just headcanon that. Let's just headcanon that Loki has a hole behind him in the tree that he has been shitting through. I think I like that headcanon. Why don't they kill Loki, by the way, if they think he did all that stuff and they're worried about him getting away? Maybe the Giants don't fuck with execution? Tom, thanks for 2. We see the God's Knight with the Horn Mask. I would love to see that, because I was excited about that dude heading into Elbaf. We see... But the thing is, that was from 40 years ago, so he'd have to be pretty fucking old by now. Like, Garling was young at that point in time. Oh. Tom. Unfortunately, Tom just beat you to that prediction. Isis1155, thanks for the 5. Last dono, but why has no one mentioned Zoro versus Gaban? He's the type to step in and access our swords. I think Zoro is far from Goat. Hawk must get stronger. I would that was actually something that I was considering myself, which is I feel like right now, Luffy versus Gaban, it should be a mismatch. It should be very Luffy favored. Luffy versus Gaban, it should be a mismatch. What would be cool to see would be actually Zoro versus Gaban. Because I think I think something that could be argued either way at the moment is Zoro versus Rayleigh currently. Rayleigh as he is right now. Like old Rayleigh. So like, put it this way, what we saw in Sabaody, because in One Piece, so many fights and interactions are open to interpretation. Right? So for example, we saw Rayleigh against Kizaru a little bit at Sabaody. We saw Rayleigh versus Kizaru at Sabaody. People have different interpretations of that fight. How much was Kizaru trying? How long could Rayleigh have lasted? Does it count as like a draw, or is Kizaru way ahead of Rayleigh? Like what? Like people have different interpretations of what that was, right? So you could also have the question of like, okay, so let's say Zoro as he is right now, how would he do against past his prime Rayleigh, right? I think a lot of people have Zoro right now ahead of past his prime Rayleigh. You could look at the upper end of what Zoro's done, like scarring Kaido. I don't think Rayleigh could do that right now, personally. You look at the flip side, which is Zoro and Lucci. And it's like, well, I feel like Rayleigh would do better than that, personally. So, with those things in mind, it's kind of like, I would love to see, I think you could debate either way, Zoro and Rayleigh right now. In your rankings. So I think seeing Zoro and Gaban, who may not be too far off from Rayleigh, some would argue right there, whatever. I think that would be a good little showcase. I feel like Luffy should be, at this point in time, a good deal. Like, it's the fucking final saga. We got like 3 arcs to go. If Luffy right now is like, forget fucking like Prime Roger. Like, Luffy's trying to go past that. He's trying to go to, like, whatever Joy Boy was, right? Assuming that's above Roger, right? If Luffy's trying to get there, and then you go down from Roger to, like, second, third banana in Roger's crew, and then past his prime third banana, and Luffy's still struggling against that dude, I don't know. We need, like, 500 more chapters of One Piece, don't we? At that point. So I don't know. I would love to see Zoro versus Gaban right now. I think that would be a slightly more interesting scenario to me. But if Luffy fights Gaban, then yeah, maybe there's some tricks Gaban has up his sleeve, or maybe Luffy doesn't go all out right away, or I don't know. We'll see. And again, that's no disrespect to Gaban. It's literally just like we already saw where Rayleigh is kind of at in Sabaody. Even if you think Gaban is exactly as good as Rayleigh is, that still shouldn't be enough right now at their age to be that much of a challenge to Luffy, you know? I don't know. But I might be underestimating. I might just be underestimating. A lot of it also depends on how you view the Rayleigh versus Kizaru fight. I think when that fight first happened, a lot of people felt like, because I was weakly at that point in time, there was a lot of like a sense of they were about equal, but Rayleigh's just old, so he was just a hair under Kizaru. I think as time has gone on, general readership sentiment has shifted towards like Kizaru could have just washed Rayleigh, but he was holding back or something like that. I don't know. I feel like the answer is maybe somewhere in the middle. I don't know. But Gaban might give us a better idea. Okay. Ace says you're paying too much attention into power scaling BS, but power scaling is not BS because it's literally like we are literally reading a story about the main character getting stronger and stronger and stronger to eventually surpass the Pirate King. Like, Oda is the one who is writing into the story that there's 2 other characters on Roger's crew who were similarly strong to Roger, right? He's the one writing these things. The power scaling BS stuff that frustrates me because it's like, this is what's in the fucking story. The entire last chapter was hyping up how strong this character Gaban is. Also establishing other things, like this character Loki was so strong that no one could stop him until Shanks came in, right? Like, Oda is the one who goes out of his way to establish these sort of things, and he's the one who goes out of his way to continually hammer in the sense of, like, Luffy's journey is a ladder where he needs to surpass this, and then this, and then this, and then eventually Roger, and then potentially Joy Boy, and then etc. We are just trying to make sense of, like, okay, how's Oda setting up the ladder? Because he keeps making it clear that there is a ladder, and he reiterates that explicitly over and over and over again throughout the fucking story. This is all in Oda. If he wanted to write this like fucking, I don't know, like fucking JoJo's or some shit where like there is no real power scaling outside of some stands that are really broken, then he could do that, but he doesn't. Like, if he wanted to write it like it's just fucking, you know, like like an anything goes matchup based story, then that's one thing, but he doesn't. Like, One Piece's story about climbing a ladder for most of the fucking main characters, for Luffy, for Zoro, for Sanji, they're climbing a ladder. They're going up, right? They don't really go backwards in terms of, like, you know, once you've beaten King, then the next time we see Zoro have like a really extreme difficulty battle, it will likely be him having to get a power up to get to the next level, right? Like a character that is likely going to be stronger than King. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a weird concept, you know? Where are we at? You see the God's Night with the horn masks. Tom said that. Okay. Zoro versus Gaban. I'm supposed to put that down, right? Okay. Oops. Zoro versus Gaban. Isis 1155. Brim, thanks for the 2. Luffy turns Gaban's axes into rubber. Might be vague. Oh, that'd be funny. No, that's not vague. That's actually very specific. Saying Luffy will fight Gaban is vague, but we're letting it fly. Yours is very specific. Anime Dimension, good to see you, man. Thanks for the 10. You always like your multi-parters. Part 1. Nico Robin might appear, possibly continuing from Harley's reaction to text in chapter 1038. The school will be featured in chapter 1040, with hints suggesting Angie as a traitor. That's multiple predictions. Here we go. I like the idea of Angie as a traitor. I definitely like that. Part 2. Gaban then intervenes, stopping the fight and informing Luffy about the abnormal Haki near the school. It will parallel Sanji also noticing something abnormal to Sanji being left wing of the Pirate King. Okay. Here we go. I'm going to break down your prediction to a few ones. Is that okay? We've already got something like the text continues, right? Where's that at? I swear we already got that. Back to Harley text. So we've already got that. So I'm going to say hints suggest Ange is traitor. Anime Dimension. Gaban and Sanji sense bad things happening at school. And stop to intervene. Anime Dimension. Nerve MV Maker, thanks for the 10. The problem with Whole Cake is that half the strats are there, so it feels incomplete. Writing a story where Sanji leaves and attacks Luffy without Zoro there to react should have been illegal. I personally agree that I would... Whole Cake and Dressrosa are funny because Oda split them into two very different types of arcs. I feel like Dressrosa was very much written like the typical post-time skip arc where you got a shit ton of side characters in the arc that dominate a lot of the story, but the Strats still get their fights in. There's not much character progression for any of the Strats, but the Strats still get their fights in. Usopp got a big thing. So let's not knock that. But it's still generally not a... I'd say Dressrosa is actually a very... Usopp's arguably the third most important character in Dressrosa after Luffy and Law. island-based characters, Kyros. It's a mix. Usopp's got an argument for third after Luffy and Law. But yeah, Dressrosa is a storyline that was like, ultimately it's light on Straw Hat's focus, but it really delivers on, like, it's got a good cast of side characters. It's got a shit ton of side characters, but it's got a good cast of side characters, I'd say. And it delivers on some of like the outside world hype stuff, because you got like Dressrosa is like an amalgamation of like, so it's like a little microcosm of all the geopolitical conflicts of One Piece, because you got the Marines there, right? But then you got the Revolutionary Army in there also like trying to do some investigating, and then you got the Blackbeard pirates in there trying to seize power, and you got the Big Mom pirates showing up pursuing their own agenda. So like Whole Cake becomes this really mishmash of like, it's kind of like a little glimpse into the beauty of what the New World's dynamics are on a large scale. But it focuses a lot on the side characters, but as a result, you get very little focus on the Straw Hats, right? So it's got that. And then the flip side is you got Whole Cake, which is much more concentrated. It's really just focused on the Big Mom pirates and the Straw Hats. And the only outside group that's really there, I guess you could say, is like the Capone Beige group. But then the tricky thing is that it is only half the Straw Hat pirates. So like Dressrosa, you get more traditional New World storytelling, and the Straw Hats that are there get fights, but less character stuff. Whole Cake, you get the really juicy, like, pre-time skip, character-based storytelling with the Straw Hats. But again, it's only half the Straw Hats that are there. And the thing I really appreciate about Whole Cake was that it's not just Sanji that got good character writing. Every single Straw Hat that was in Whole Cake got really, really good character writing. Whole Cake is the best story writing for Nami post-time skip. It is the best story writing for Brook post-time skip. It is the best story writing for Jinbei, I guess, outside of Fishman Island. Like, Fishman Island, I don't think Jinbei's really had an arc. Even in Fishman Island, it didn't truly feel like Jinbei's arc, but good story writing for Jinbei as well. And even for Chopper, I would argue that Whole Cake is the most significant example of character growth for Chopper in any post-time skip arc. In that it featured Chopper at his most independent and acting, like, leading his own storyline for the first time in One Piece, outside of, I guess, Gedatsu and Skypiea, where he really fumbled and struggled doing that, but here he succeeded. Anyway, the shame was just that, like, those Straw Hats didn't get fights, because that was the Dressrosa storyline. So it's like Dressrosa and Whole Cake together, they do half and half for like certain things for the crew. So they're both good arcs, in my opinion, in their own right. They both just have to do half of what the other one doesn't do, if that makes sense. Pocoloco, thanks for the 2. Gaban recognizes Enma or senses Odin's Haki in it. Oh, that'd be cool. Gaban recognizes Odin's Haki in Enma. King J, thanks a lot. Nami's recent power-up of Zeus being able to trace back at the target even if Nami misses it, in addition to Nami already being good at directions, makes Nami a good opponent for Gunko. That is a really cool idea. I like that. I like that a lot. It's just, there's something to me that fit, like, if this final God's Knights that shows up as a swordsman, it completes that trio pretty well, of like a parallel trio, right? Like, just the directions, the arrows, I think there's something there. I think people were not looking at any Nami parallel with Gunko when she first showed up, just because people want Zoro to get a fight. So just, it's kind of like, if anybody shows up at all that seems somewhat strong, it doesn't matter who, it doesn't matter if they have a sword or not, it's just like, Zoro's gonna fight them. That's what's gonna happen. That's just kind of the way it goes. Like, people kind of default to, okay, he's probably not gonna fight the boss, but he's gonna fight that other person, whoever it is. I don't care who it is. They're gonna fight. That's Zoro's. That person's for Zoro. That's just the way it kind of goes. So maybe Gunko is for Zoro, but I wouldn't be surprised if this third God's Knight might be more of a Zoro analog. Roly Polioli, thanks for the 5. Hey, Morj, just a question. Since Rayleigh and Crocus are doing flood-related things, could Scopper in Elbaf be in Elbaf for a flood-related reason as well? Yes, because Elbaf is the island that is safest in the world from flooding. Rayleigh, Crocus, Gaban, they all knew what was up when they learned about this flooding shit that's going to happen. Gaban, like, we know that there's already going to be a war for higher ground. Fucking Elbaf is the safest place in the world, minus Marijua itself, minus the red line. Highest ground. I guess Sky Islands as well, but Sky Islands are notoriously hard to get to, right? So Elbaf is on the Blue Seas. Elbaf is likely where there will be a large war breaking out for higher ground. It'll be one of the hot spots at the very least. Gabon picked a place that's very fucking safe, basically. Rayleigh learned how to fucking coach ships. Crocus went to fucking reverse mounted, lived with a whale and stuff. Like, they knew what's up. They're like, we are not dying to this fucking flood whenever it comes. You know, maybe we can help other people as well, but yeah. Kelly Man Super, thanks for the 2. The Gorosei have never smiled throughout the series. Yeah, like, Oda's going with a very, very serious route for the Gorosei. Again, it's like, it makes sense that they'd be a group that he doesn't do his usual funny dynamics for, because they're not supposed... Again, that's what I'm trying to say. They're... Like, a lot of times, Oda's villain groups are endearing in ways because of how they play off of each other. The Gorosei, they are Hitler 5 times. You just wouldn't make it funny, you know? So I wonder if the God's Knights are supposed to be something similar or somewhat similar in persona. But at the same time, comedy is often how Oda likes to differentiate a lot of his characters and their personalities. And that's actually one of the reasons... It's funny now I'm thinking about it. The Gorosei are all very, very similar personality-wise. I think for a long time in the story, readers had no sort of conception of even, like, what are the differences between the Gorosei. We kind of were just like, that one, the bald one, this one, that one, etc. They all just talk and act and think very similar. You have to really go back and comb through their dialogue to kind of understand the subtle differences in their personalities and outlooks. But they are a very homogenous group. Like, you don't think of any individual Gorosei, I think, as having... Like, Saturn, we've gotten to know more intimately lately. But if you were to say, like, what's the big difference between Venus, Juro, and Mars, you would have some difficulty explaining, right? If anything, one of the only big differences I could think of between Venus, Juro, and Mars is that Mars is often late or something to the meetings, and that's a gag associated with Mars that Oda wrote outside of the story he included with the SBS, right? So that's how I think of, like, oh, Mars, he's actually, like, kind of a less organized person in the background. But it's not something that would come through reading the story. So it's interesting just because, yeah, the gags are really one of Oda's favorite ways to differentiate a lot. Along with designs, gags are another way to really differentiate his villains from each other and really make them stand out in contrast to one another and define their personalities. Which is maybe why the Gorosei just feel like they're the most serious group, but also the most homogenous group of bad guys that we've had in One Piece, at least significant bad guys. That's interesting. The God's Knights, I doubt, will ever be a homogenous group, so I am curious. Maybe there will be gags, but the ones we've gotten so far, Shamrock and Gunko, they don't seem to be funny characters, you know? Let's wait and see. Continuing on. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Can you guys hear any music in the background? Can you guys hear any music? Hold on 1 second. Let me answer this in the meantime. Eric J.O., thanks for bringing a Yonko to your member for 16 months. Sup, Morj, I predict... Okay, no music. Okay, you guys can't hear that. That's all good. Jolly, you just everyone lie and say no? I did a bit. No? All right. Hear it lightly? Okay. Okay, let me just message one thing. Okay, Eric J.O., thanks for bringing Yonko to your member for 16 months. Sup, Morj, I predict third God's Knight will be a sniper. Could be a good matchup for Sanji with speed as a forte, and he could coach Usopp in observation haki. You think Sanji could coach Usopp, or the God's Knight would coach Usopp? Oh my god, you guys could fucking hear it. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I just don't want to get a copyright struck. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Okay, continuing on. Continuing on. I'm blocking the text now. All right, let me move this shit around. Here we go. All right, here we go. Should I just move it down? No, I guess this is fine. This is fine. Okay, continuing on. Where are we at? Also, let's get the stream likes to 200 because we're almost there. Nami's recent power. Nope, we covered this. Okay, I'm almost caught up. Knut Worgen, thanks for the 5-man. If Uranus flooded the second world, then what if Pluton created the red line, ending the first world, and Poseidon will usher the end of the third world? The tricky thing is that Pluton is associated with, like... the sense I got is that the ancient weapons are defining, like, they are part of the second world. Like, they're a big part of the second world specifically, not so much the first world. So whatever caused the changes to the world in the first world, I feel like it was something different because the ancient weapons were also used throughout the second world and the red line was there before that. The other thing is that Pluton, we've already been told, it's an island destroying weapon. It's not something that creates islands. And then finally, just Pluton symbolically it takes after the god of the underworld, right? So I don't know if it'd be something that would create land or anything. I think that'd be a little bit distant from what its ability sounds like it is. But I see the parallel idea that you're saying there. Like first world this, then second world, then third world. Joey Cherinet, thanks for the 5. The third holy knight that shows up will be a member of pre-established family. Don Quixote, top man, etc. That would be interesting. I would love that. That'd be really cool. Third holy knight that shows up is a member of pre-established family. Example, Don Quixote, top man, etc. That's a cool idea. Joey Cherinet. Because I think I'm curious, like what all the 20 families are in retrospect. Also, let's see if we can get the stream likes up to 200. Kino the Far, thanks for the 2. Meant a hidey hole for lore, not a poopy hole for poop. Unfortunately, that's just the way it's got to be interpreted. Because your theory makes a lot of sense. Because otherwise, where's his poop going? Random guy 123, thanks for the 5. The God's Knights that appear is the one with the goat mask at God Valley. Do we have that already? No, we don't have that. I don't think we have that. Do we have that? No, we have that from Tom Tom. I think that's a cool possibility. It's just that he'd be fucking old. Because, like, it's just 40 years ago. If he was, like, a teenager then he'd still be... Maybe he's 60 now. Like, maybe he's 20 then. 22, 23. That'd still fly. It's just, he'd be very, very young at God Valley for that to work, right? Mingo Mango, thanks a lot for the 7. Gaban comments on Enma and glazes Odin's supposed greatness back in his prime. Oda wants us to know that his self-insert character is the best. Gaban glazes, I could say that. Gaban recognizes Odin, Haki, and Enma. I'll add Gaban. Gaban glazes Odin / Enma. So that's a little bit different. No, so Gaban glazes Odin. I can add that. Mingo Mango. Milk, thanks for the 2. Really hoping Sengoku gets to show off like Garp. I am low-key a Sengoku doubter / hater. I know a lot of people say that Sengoku is supposed to be like equal to Garp or just as good as Garp. I don't think I've ever seen... I don't know about that. I just don't know if that's something that's ever like implied in the story. I think Sengoku could be comparable to Garp in the way that like the gap between them could be like however big the gap you think is between Roger and Rayleigh, but I think that ultimately there is a gap, and I just don't think that there's ever been a point that it's implied that Sengoku is on par with like Roger, Whitebeard, Rocks, stuff like that. Whereas there is specific dialogue explaining that Garp is like some dude that could give Roger real, like he nearly took out Roger multiple times. I don't think there's anything in the story that really suggests that with Sengoku, so I think I've always been a Sengoku doubter in that, like, I do think Sengoku is very strong, And I feel like Prime Sengoku is above the admirals that we have today. Akainu, I don't know. If Akainu's gotten a power up like Conqueror's Haki, that puts Akainu in a new tier. But outside of that, like the Akainu that we saw pre-time skip, Aokiji, etc., I imagine Prime Sengoku is above them. Hell, maybe he was even above them at Marineford. I don't know. But I don't think that. I just don't know what there is that suggests that Sengoku is. Like every time Sengoku's been hyped, it's maybe someone pairing him or using him in the same sentence as Garp. But then Garp has been hyped a lot more individually than Sengoku ever has. So, I don't know. Kino the Far says, Morj, you forgot to type Eric's prediction about Sniper Knight. Oh, shit. Sorry about that. Thank you. Thank you, Kino the Far. Sorry about that. Okay. God's Knights will be a sniper. God's Knight will be third. God's Knight will be sniper. Sorry about that, Eric. Potentially match up with Sanji or lead to Usopp development. I'll say and/or lead to Usopp observation development. Where are we at? Batman Frio, thanks for the 5. Wasn't trying to attack you. It just feels like every time I come into stream, it's let's shit on post time, skip time. That was my point. Hope you understand. It's all good, man. It's all good, but like, I just feel like the way that it was phrased threw me, because your phrasing made it sound like I was responsible for you losing your love for One Piece because I was constantly negative about it. So for me, it's two things. It's like, one, I'm not constantly negative about it. That's just, it's factually, objectively not true, because it's measurable by like, those are things that are measured. You can measure my videos, right? Like which videos are, how often am I actually putting out a video that's not positive about One Piece? It is rare, right? Which is why it's more controversial when it happens, but it's generally rare. And two, in streams, you could literally like, you could count by runtime or whatever you want to do. It's not that, like, there are percentage-wise, I'm not negative. I'm not saying bad things about like Wano or something like that. The majority of streams, not 50% of the time in streams, not 20% of the time. If you add up all the runtime, there's gonna be like maybe 5 to 10 minutes some streams where I'm saying something that's not positive about Wano or something post time skip or something like that. I will reflect. You could say that there's a larger percentage of the stream that I might be talking about differences between like how does writing has changed pre-time skip, post-time skip. But if you notice, a lot of what I'm saying has been different post-time skip. I'm like, well, we are getting less Straw Hat focus. That's objectively true. But I also talk about how Egghead had the best stuff ever for side characters. I also talk about how post-time skip we balanced out with like a lot more emphasis on world building, lore, hype stuff, building up, setting up the war, etc. I'm going to reflect on changes that have like factually happened in the story. I'm going to comment on things like why Whole Cake Island is more similar to pre-time skip style writing, and why I might prefer a lot of that. But I also say like, well, Egghead was also really, really good, and that wasn't pre-time skip style focus on Straw Hats. So I'm going to reflect and like give my opinions on things at the end of the day. And make observations of at least differences that do tangibly, like measurably exist in the story. And then if you enjoy those or I enjoy those, or like my personal opinion on if those are good or bad, that's its own subjective thing. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Like, so that's one, which is saying it's constantly negative. I think that's just fundamentally not true. I think it's unfair to take the fact that sometimes I say things that aren't positive about the series and then say that you're always negative about the series. I think that's unfair. And then the second part is just like, you could just like, there's other creators at the end of the day. Like, obviously, I'm always going to be happy that you all enjoy watching me, coming back to me, hearing my opinions, all of that. But I don't feel like I can take responsibility that like, I'm personally ruining your love of the series. You don't have to, if I'm ruining your love of the series, I'm sorry that that's become your experience following me, but you can, like, I put out a lot of content talking about so many great aspects of One Piece, but if that's not hitting for you, you can watch other creators who will, maybe there's other creators who will never say anything critical about One Piece. You can watch their streams instead. I'm never going to take responsibility for, like, ruining someone's love for the series, because I'm just like, I'm not forcing you to watch or listen. So one, I think it's a huge exaggeration to say I'm constantly negative when the vast majority of the time I'm praising the series and talking about the things I love about the series, the vast majority of the time. And that's also reflected in my content, like the actual videos I put out. And then two, I'm never going to take responsibility for like ruining someone's love for the story, because that's you watching it, you know? Like, that'd be like if I said like the extreme example, like sports shows like First Take or something ruin my enjoyment of basketball. Like, I don't have to watch them. There's so many other creators that are out there that you know, I could watch. I could argue that shows like First Take, this is random, are negative for the general public's opinion of basketball, because if they're too negative, then that could skew that. But that's a different complaint. I'm never going to say it's ruining my enjoyment of basketball, right? If I'm saying that this is giving a bad look for basketball to other people, and I don't think that's healthy for the sport, that's something different, right? If you want to come at me for that, it's like, Morj, you saying negative things about Wano that's going to ruin One Piece's perception in the public. I'd be like, damn, I don't think I have that much influence, but that's something you could say. But you can never say like it's ruining your enjoyment of One Piece, because that's like that you don't have to watch me. Anyway, continuing on. Where are we at? Gaban uses observation killing. Says Dick so small. Gaban uses observation killing. Do we have that already? I think we already have something along those lines. Because I think I'd already give it to Hayo, something along those lines. Monte, thanks for the 5. Which way do you prefer people to send you theories, Twitter or email? Also, I got 5 on Mosa coming up again. Oh, I fucking forgot about Mosa. You got 5 on Mosa coming up again in 11:40. I have no more Uruj Hopium for now. Fucking forgot about Uruj too. Uruj. Anyway. Mosa coming up again. I could put that down. As for sending me stuff, I'm going to be honest. I prefer not to be sent stuff, just because here's what happens. I prefer not to be sent stuff because it is a common occurrence on Twitter that somebody will have like a theory that they think is really good, and then they will tag me and tag like a whole bunch of other creators as well to get eyes on their theory. Here's the thing. Maybe it's a good theory. Like maybe it's a really, really good theory. Like maybe you fucking solved all of One Piece. That's great. But it happens so often from so many different people. I don't want to sift through. It's almost like people like I don't want to sift through that all the time when I'm online, basically, right? Streams or like looking like streams and stuff are me sitting down and like I'm looking to engage and talk and hear what people have to say. And like lots of times when I'm going through streams, people are pointing out things that I didn't realize. It's a way to just hear all the thoughts that people are having and everything. And like there's thoughts in here that I wouldn't have thought of just on my own. Like there's a lot of stuff. Like I enjoy streams because that's like me sitting down and like wanting to open up and engage. And like this is where I share a lot of like what I'm kind of thinking for the future. You guys put out things or like point out details that I might have missed, stuff like that. That's cool. I usually don't want to go to an email inbox filled like outside of this and be filled with like a bunch of theories. And I definitely don't want like on Twitter to be like constantly tagged in different people's theories. And it's not just out of like, I don't want to be bombarded with that stuff. It's also just like, I don't know what to, when somebody sends like a really, really good theory that's like really thought out and putting out a lot of points or whatever, I don't know what to do with it because I'm not going to take that and put that into a video. That's not my idea, right? That's not a theory that I'm coming up with or anything like that. It's interesting. You might point out certain things I didn't realize, but it's not something that like I would strongly suggest you try and find avenues to get that theory out there yourself. Like you want to put it on Twitter, you want to put it on Reddit, whatever you want to do that yourself. If you give me like people will say, like there have been, I think because one thing that changed recently before I used to have a management company or management company for the channel. So people couldn't email me directly. Like contractually, it had to go through my management company before. Since we changed our email back to the usual YouTube email account, and now people can email directly, there have been people sending like full-ass long multi-page theories and stuff. And there's nothing for me to do with that because like either it's a really, really good theory, in which case like I'm not going to just take that and turn that into a video. That's your theory. That's not something that like I can do anything with. Or I'm reading it and it's like a really bad theory, which I think a lot of theories that are sent are. And then I'm just like, I'm not going to take my time to read through each one of these really in depth. So if that makes sense, just get it out there yourself. It doesn't need to go to me. You know, it doesn't need to go to me. Just get it out there yourself, you know? Generally, if there's things that people mention from stream that is like a unique idea that like I only really see a certain stream viewer or like a certain viewer putting out there that I don't see in the general ether, then I do credit that in the video somewhere. I'll mention stream viewer mentioned this, or I saw it from this Twitter user or something like that, right? If it's something that like is a general broader theory or something, then I'm not going to go out of my way to credit people, because if it's something like, if multiple people are saying things like it's a known thought that like, oh, the third God's Knight that might show up might be someone that fights Zoro, right? I'm never going to credit a stream viewer for that specifically, even if stream happens to be the first place that I see it. If it's something that people in general are saying, I'm not ultimately going to give credit to one specific person. But if I see something that I'm only seeing one stream viewer say and it's like a light bulb in my head, then I might take that comment and credit that in a video if I'm making a more elaborate theory video. But I'm never going to take like a fully fleshed out theory that somebody else made and sent to me and then make a video or talk about that or something like that in a video. So there's just no point to sending me a fully fleshed out theory. I'm not the person you want to send it to. Put it out there in the world. Just put it out there in the world. Put it out there as you want to put it out. That's it. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, continuing on. Milk, thanks for the 2. Did you all talk about Gunko maybe killing Cobra? I remember that. For a moment I gasped, but then I remembered that we kind of talked about that last stream. My personal conclusion is that that's just Emu or something like that. I don't know if Gunko is literally right there. It feels kind of random for Gunko to have been there, but it was an arrow-shaped thing. I thought it's a tail. L, thanks for the 2. I can hear it. Bump some reggae. I'm trying to chill. No, I can't bump anything that'll be copyright struck. Rajas Joshi. Do you think that Zoro is being ignored by Oda? No, Zoro's right there. He's right there. He's literally there. He's in the scene right now. He is present. He's in the scene, the pivotal scene where shit's going down. He is physically there. How much more there do you... Jesus Christ, like... Chopper, if you said Chopper might be being ignored, or like Jinbei might be being ignored, or like any of the Strides who are like not fucking there being ignored, then you'd have a discussion. Zoro is physically... he's there. The story's... He's one of the only three main characters that are like fucking in the center storyline at the moment. How is he being ignored? Anuj Agrawal, thanks for the 2. Yap session, nobody throws a punch all chapter. Oh shit, Anuj, you might be right. Fuck. You might be right, man. I'm just gonna say no one throws an attack all chapter. Anuj. You might be right, man. It could be the way things shape out. Christian Barraza, thanks for being a Yonko tier member for 21 months, man. Also, let's get the stream likes to 200 because we're right there. Just speculation, Gunko and Shamrock are not considered saints because they're not purebred celestial dragons. Their mothers are slave wives. Shit, I thought that Shamrock was considered. I thought that he was. Right? I swear I thought Shamrock was. Maybe it's the previous chapter. But Gunko didn't have a saint thing. That's an interesting point. Let's see. Let's see. Where's it? Okay. Figarland, Shamrock. It says World Noble. It says he's a Celestial Dragon. She's not, though. So I think you might have a point there. That's interesting. Tala, thanks a lot. Zoro disappointed in Luffy's performance versus Gaban. Oh. I don't know about that. Anuj. Oops. Zoro. Oops. Zoro disappointed in Luffy's performance versus Gaban. I don't know about that, though, because Zoro's been a little... I just feel like Zoro shouldn't... I don't think he's got, like, a leg to stand on right now. Because, like, he should just be thankful nobody watched him versus Lucci. Except for Sanji, who was derogatory towards his performance there. So, I don't know. Booty Pirate, thanks for the 5. Love all your videos and streams. Morj prediction. Gaban and Luffy's fight ends up destroying the whole castle. That's a wild prediction just because, like, even Loki and Harold's fight didn't do that, and that was, like, a fight to the death that involved, like, hundreds of giants from Elbaf also, like, entering there, you know? And this would be, like a more good-natured spar where I imagine Luffy doesn't go all out. But let's throw it. Luffy's a pretty destructive character. Luffy / Gaban's fight destroys castle. We're gonna have to try and save some space in a second here. Sahil Rahman, thanks for the 2. What FPS games have you enjoyed playing? I have almost never... Actually, okay, hold on. So FPS games, I have a very limited relationship with them because growing up, I did not have a PlayStation or Xbox. I really just had a GameCube growing up, okay? Keep in mind, a GameCube was a very outdated console by the time I was in literally 6th grade. By that point, it was like outdated. Wii was coming out pretty quick. Pretty soon, but it didn't matter. The GameCube was what I had till I want to say 11th grade. My parents got me a Wii, but that was like way after the Wii's lifespan was pretty much over as is. So I think my parents were just way behind the curve on like they thought I still wanted a Wii. Really, I don't know. I kind of did still want it. It's complicated because I did like Nintendo games. But anyway, I only had a GameCube, so I didn't really play first-person shooter games at all, because GameCube doesn't have those, right? And now I had friends who did have FPS games, but if I went over to friends' places, I usually wouldn't want to play video games, generally speaking, unless it was like Smash Bros. That was always like the game that I kind of played growing up with friends. And that was largely because like I also owned that game, so there wasn't that much learning or anything like that. Usually I think if I went to friends' places, I wouldn't feel like playing video games or like playing like FPS games or whatever, just because it was like very foreign. Like all those games were very foreign to me, and like I wouldn't really enjoy having to learn something from scratch. It just was like, because it just felt like a whole bunch of other stuff. That would never be the thing that I wanted to do, really. So I didn't really have much FPS gaming experience with friends either growing up. Okay. So I think the first time I really played FPS games were like in college. We at some point, like the friends I had there pulled out like Call of Duty Zombies, and that became like a fun thing for us to do on off, like for a couple months or something. Like we just went through phases of like playing different games or whatever. And so like Call of Duty Zombies was a thing for a bit. So I played that. That was fun. Zombies was fun, but it was fun because you're playing with friends. And then post-college, I think at the very end of college, Overwatch started becoming a thing. And so one of my college roommates had Overwatch, so I got to play Overwatch a little bit then. And then post-college, I bought myself an Xbox, and I played Overwatch on that. And I pretty much exclusively played Tracer as a Tracer one-trick. So even though I was bad at first-person shooters, I got good enough at like the Tracer movement stuff and like got a little bit better at shooting stuff. So like I wasn't great. I was like a gold Overwatch player, standard mostly, right? But it was fun. Like I think since then though, I did that for like some months, and then after that I haven't touched a first-person shooter game. Some people have suggested I play Marvel Rivals. There's something that just seems janky to me about Marvel Rivals that I can't put my finger on. I played it a tiny little bit at friend's place. I played Star-Lord because I heard it's similar to Tracer. Played it a tiny little bit as just like, I don't know, Tracer feels better to me. And then I haven't touched it since then. But I hear good things about Marvel Rivals. Yeah, Jolly D. Joestar says so Morj would be a Star-Lord main. Yeah, I tried it a little bit, but then I was like, he doesn't have rewind. It's not the same. It's just like if Tracer was less good, less fun as a character, basically. People are saying... I'm sure Marvel Rivals is better than Overwatch is right now, because my understanding is Overwatch just became a totally broken game, like a busted bad game, right? I've seen all the things about Overwatch. I understand it just became a bad game. All I can say is that all I can compare it to is what it felt like Overwatch was to me when I first started playing it, to when the little taste I got of Marvel Rivals and what I've seen in videos. I don't know. Overwatch just seems, there's just something that seems more fun, cool about the visuals, the UI, something about it, the way everything flows to me than Marvel Rivals, but I haven't really played both. Chris Morales says peak Overwatch 1 was better. Yeah, keep in mind, I only played Overwatch during its peak when it was really fucking popular, right? Like when the game was good, when things weren't so solved in a way that the game got really bad. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. By the way, you guys want to know why I stopped playing Overwatch? I stopped playing Overwatch because, first of all, I kept up with it because, like, my friends post-college, like, it was senior of college that we all, like, that Overwatch was kind of picked up amongst, like, because one of my college roommates got it, which meant that we all got to play it. And so then after leaving college, it was just, like, a fun thing. Like, everybody kind of started playing Overwatch, so I was like, well, I want to, like, it's an easy way to keep up, and you're talking on, you're talking on voice chat and stuff. So I kept up with it for a bit, and I like bought myself an Xbox again to play it. And I think that there was a point where like I had an epiphany. I had been playing Overwatch for several months, and it was like the fun thing to do. And I had an epiphany. I was like, wait a second, like I'm out of college. My parents are letting me stay at home for this year. They're not forcing me to go to law school. They're letting me have a year off. They're allowing me to stay here. So that I can try and get some of my personal endeavors off the ground, like business type stuff, things that I wanted to do because I didn't want to go to law school, right? And I just had an epiphany. I was like, I am staying in my parents' basement right now, post-college, not working. Well, no, I was working a part-time job at the court and everything, but the other main thing was that my friend and I were trying a promotional video business. I was like, I'm not in law school yet. My parents are allowing me to wait on that. I'm doing... I'm supposed to be really grinding this business, and I have this part-time job, and I'm fucking sitting here playing Overwatch on an Xbox that I didn't even have before. I just bought it for post-college, and I was just like, this is not correct. This feels like it's putting me down a path that I don't want to be on. So then I just stopped playing it. Period. Cold turkey. And I think after that was when I really, really got, then that next year became, like, insanely grindy in terms of just, like my friend and I, we were just, like, hammering small video projects video promotional projects for small businesses. Like, it was just, like, a grind. Like, we were trying to get clients anywhere we could, working, like, crazy hours, all that stuff, basically. So, like, I think I can almost mark the point where I stopped. I was like, I don't need to be playing Xbox and Overwatch and shit, and then got like serious about like actually trying to make something of life and everything. So it was like a short few months where I was an Overwatch player. Anyway, continuing on. Not really an ostrich. Welcome to Pirate King tier. Thank you for joining. I am recording the Pirate King podcast tomorrow, so you've got one little window to get your submission in for the month, man. I really encourage you to do so. The Pirate King podcast, for those of you who don't know, it's a podcast where I go through and talk about. I answer all the questions in depth that people submit on One Piece, anime, manga, etc., and I answer it much more in depth than I do on stream. It is an hour to hour and a half long podcast. I answer every question you can ask about anything, real life, NBA, whatever you want. But yeah, thanks for joining in. And also, before I continue the supers, Alice says, Morj, did you create the Crocomom theory? No, Crocomom, I believe, has far predates me. I can't believe I almost forgot. I am so sorry about this, everybody. You guys are curious about what you're seeing in the background. What you're seeing in the background is the Islands of Love. Very fitting for Scopper Gaban's introduction into the story. It is February. It is Valentine's month, as many of you know. What we got in the background for you this time is Amazon Lily, Kamabaka Kingdom. I love Kamabaka Kingdom. It looks very psychedelic. And it actually reminds me of Yoshi's Story. from Smash Bros. Or I guess the games, whatever you want to say. It reminds me of Yoshi's Story. Yoshi's Story, Yoshi's Island. Yoshi's Island, right? Yoshi's Island, Smash? Yoshi's Island? Yoshi's Story. It's the one. No, Yoshi's Story. Yeah, Yoshi's Island, this one. It reminds me of this one. Yeah, it reminds me of this one. So that was the route he went with Kamabaka Kingdom. So I think that looks really sick. Dressrosa obviously looks really cool. We got 3 layers going on. And Drum Kingdom, my personal favorite from this batch, we got right over here. Absolutely beautiful. Sakura petals, the reindeer flying. I think Drum Kingdom is beautiful. You can get any of these from the Morj store, or you can get all 4 of them together for 50% off if you want to continue building your collection of posters. But yeah, this is the Romance Bundle collection. So any of you guys are interested in this. Also, interestingly, for Amazon Lily, I think we've got a variation of Amazon Lily. Do we have a variation? I thought we had a variation. Okay, doesn't matter. But you guys can go check that out on the Morj store. And I will drop it for you all here in chat because you all are so interested. And you guys won't stop asking about it. Drum Kingdom looks dope. I love Drum Kingdom. I think it really looks beautiful. What the hell? All right. There we go. All right. Continuing on. Let me catch up on these. Milk, thanks for the 2. Fat guess. Mosa is Shirahoshi somehow. Oh, wait. I forgot the Mosa thing. Hold on, we're missing one. Who mentioned Mosa? Someone mentioned Mosa. Monte mentioned Mosa. I'm sorry, Monte. Sorry, Monte. Let me get that in here. Mosa coming up in 1140. Coming up next chapter. Monte. All right. And then where we at? Okay, here we go. Bailey Wilbanks, thanks for the 5. Morj, it won't let me become a member. The button just isn't there. It's there for other YouTubers. What the hell? I don't know what to say about that, but I think it'd be just under the video. If you're seeing it on mobile, it should just be under the video towards the right-hand corner. That's my understanding. Sorry about that. I don't know. I would love for you to become a member, obviously, but I have no advice to give you. It should be there. L, thanks for the 2. A Cerberus head interrupts the Luffy fight. If you don't want to be a member, you could instead do Patreon, which gives you all the same perks. So, alternate option. If you would like to do that, you get access to the podcast as well. And it has Pirate King tier as well, so same podcast. L, thanks for the 2. A Cerberus head interrupts the Luffy fight. Oh, man, that would be lame. Well, I don't know if it'd be lame. It would mean that Shamrock just showed up, right? But let's put that down. Cerberus head interrupts Luffy fight. And Zoro slashes it down. Okay, let's do the whole thing. Zoro slashes it. L. All right. Bunfagun, thanks for the 7. Nami steals the... Oh! You are... Oh! My favorite prediction so far. Bunfagum, easily my favorite prediction so far. Because this is so in character and perfectly justifies Nami's position there and just reminds us of the roots of her character. That is actually fucking perfect. Bunfagum, favorite prediction by far. Nami steals the key. I love that. It's just so perfectly fitting. L, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you. Thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Everybody in chat say thanks to L, Aespa Comeback, Scholar H, Shonen Academia, Marco Das, Kino the Far. Everybody say thanks to L. W's in the chat for L. We always appreciate when people come through and just give people memberships, of course. So everybody say thanks to L. And you all just make sure you tune into the podcast because now you got access. Not the Pirate King podcast, but the Yonko level podcast that comes out tomorrow morning. Cheritor, thanks for 2. Overwatch is only good for gooning these days. That is probably true. Not really an ostrich. I think we got your Pirate King membership, but I do still appreciate it. Shonen Academia, thanks a lot. My prediction below. Please read, like the stream. My prediction below. Let's see. And yes, everybody, let's like the stream. Let's like the stream. Okay. Further Sanji versus Zoro parallels. Gaban disses Rayleigh for lackluster training. He also disses Zoro for relying on Enma's power. Okay. Let's say Gaban disses Rayleigh / Zoro in some ways. Shonen Academia. I don't know. I feel like Gaban and Rayleigh seem like they really got along. I don't know if they have that Zoro and Sanji like butting heads dynamic, you know? I feel like they really got along, and I feel like it's likely they got along just because the personalities are a little bit different in that Rayleigh is it seems like a very laid back and mature personality. Whereas with Zoro and Sanji, they're both kind of pushy, not pushy, but like they both kind of like they've got their sort of egos about them in terms of like, if I say this, like this dude's getting on my nerves in this way, this dude's getting my nerves in this way. You know what I mean? Because I think Zoro and Sanji are both characters that kind of like have like the thing that really makes Zoro not clash with Luffy and Sanji not clash with Luffy is like Luffy's not a very like Luffy himself is almost like a pushover personality on a day-to-day basis. Like he's like a guy that like fucking Nami beats him up all the time or whatever. You know what I mean? Like Luffy's a guy that's just like silly, goofy, happy-go-lucky most of the time. So there's not much to normally clash with, right? Like the times that Luffy's really gonna be being serious or we're in serious battles and serious situations. Whereas with Zoro and Sanji, they're both personality types that like have a bit of like a chip on their shoulder in certain ways, like in normal situations. So like they will naturally butt heads with somebody else who is also like that and has different viewpoints on what's the correct thing to do and or like how to act or whatever in day-to-day situations. Anyway, continuing on. L, thanks for the 10 and a great point. I'm definitely getting laid if I gift these posters. That is precisely the right mentality, L. If you gift any one of these posters to any woman, man, whoever you're interested in, guaranteed, okay, let's clarify. 99% guarantee you get lucky. 99% guarantee. I mean, can you even imagine handing your Valentine that Drum Kingdom poster and not leading to an amazing night? Like, how would it even happen? Like, it's impossible. So that's a guarantee. That's a Morj 99% guarantee. I'm not responsible for the 1% of the time that it doesn't work. 1% of the time it might not work, but 99% chance you gift one of these, it is, what better Valentine's Day gift is there than this? I don't know if there's a better Valentine's Day gift in existence, for being honest. Milk, thanks for 2. Sorry, man, but Mo says ... is like Shirahoshi's. So you think that's Shirahoshi? I don't know. I can't imagine Loki ever even meeting. I don't even know how that would happen. Basim Al Madawi, I missed this. Thanks for the 2. Revealed that Gaban saved Kid. Had a great night. Hope you have a great night too, man. Gaban saved Kid. That is a cool theory. Gaban saved Kid. Really, the Giants should do it because the Giants are the ones that should be grateful to Kid for supposedly having defeated Big Mom. Supposedly. Booty Pirate, thanks for 2. We got a Zoro and Gear 5 Luffy double page spread. If they're doing that just to beat Gaban, I feel bad for that old man. If they get it for Shamrock, that'd be cool. Like against Shamrock in this hypothetical next God's Night. Zoro and Gear 5 Luffy double page spread. Caleb P. Oh, this is from Booty Pirate. Caleb P, thanks for the 5. Would you ever upload videos and streams to Spotify? It'd be easier for me to listen to when I'm working/working out. I have considered, I don't know about videos. I have considered uploading streams to Spotify. Let me make a note to actually look into that, because that is something that is very doable. That is something that's doable. Podcasts as well, maybe the Yonko and Pirate King podcast. I'll think about those. Streams, I don't know. Because there might be a process, because like the streams aren't, I don't know. We'll see. All right, guys. I do need to eat dinner soon, so I might call stream in the next few minutes. Hope that's okay. Elsa's gonna be smacking them cheeks like a drum. Definitely if she's an OP fan. If she's an OP fan, I think it's not a joke. I'm not going to say you're going to get laid, but if she's a One Piece fan, I think it's a pretty good Valentine's Day gift. Pat says the fight is skipped. We only see the end result. What? Gabon is just dead. They fucking murdered him. L's comments right now are fucking hilarious. Powerful analyst says, I would trust Morj with my life and honest soul. I agree. Also, I'm excited to watch the Lakers game tonight. Wait, can anybody fill me in? How was the Super Bowl? Was it good? I did not watch it yesterday. Our weekend became a whole thing. We were going to do a little trip first, and then that got to ski, and then that got bumped, so we bumped that. And then we had the Super Bowl, actually two. We had two Super Bowl things that we were considering going to, but we both had a very long week, and neither of us know football well, almost at all. Okay? So neither of us had like interest specifically in the game, and it was like a Sunday, and we were both fucking tired. And the big thing is, normally when I'm at Super Bowl like watch parties or whatever, it's usually with other people who are either people who I'm really good friends with. Like I have like my group of friends from college and post college or whatever. They knew football really, really well. But I never minded not knowing football when we're watching the Super Bowl or even big games, because it's like, it's whatever. Like, I know them so well, like, I feel comfortable. But the friends that I have, the two groups that we would hypothetically go watch with here, they know football better, and they would actually avidly watch the game, and I don't know them as well, so I'd feel out of place just not knowing football in general at those parties. So I felt good passing on it. I didn't even watch the halftime show, nothing. I understand people don't like the Chiefs. Can somebody tell me why were people rooting against the Chiefs? Also, Caleb P., thanks for your first super ever. I'm sorry I forgot to say that. Yeah, I know it wasn't a competitive game. See, here's the thing. If it was like, and I see people saying Patrick Mahomes choked. How do I say this? If it was like halftime and the score was even moderately close, like within a couple, like you could reasonably see it happening. Like we know 28-3, like, so even that's surmountable, right? So if it was anywhere within that range, I would have probably turned it on for the end of the game. But it was just, I felt validated in not having watched it when I saw what the score was at halftime. Are there like a lot of Philadelphia fans or something? Keanu the Far, thanks for the 5. Good night, Marjorie Taylor Green. Expect my resume and a Morj Unleashed portfolio in your email soon. Super Bowl is good. Drake likes him young. Okay, so people do send resumes and like offers for like working and stuff like that. We do actually consider those. As long as they're like serious and like people send really good portfolios. We do actually consider those, but the majority of the time we don't respond because like lots of times people send over and they're like, we can edit for the channel or something. And it's like, well, the other co-owner of this channel is the editor. He doesn't really want to be replaced like that. But we've considered it at times to like take off workload here or there or something like that. So like we do consider those things. It's just very rare that we actually, like someone just messaged us about thumbnail stuff. And so that's like a new thing that we might be trying out. You might see some different style of thumbnails soon, possibly. Dick so small, I piss on the walls. Thanks for the 5. Maybe not next chapter, but Shamrock attacks the children. Colin stands up to him. Kid intercepts Shamrock. Oh, Kid showing up? That would be cool. Kid showing up would be really cool. I can just put it down. Let's see. Like, why not? Shamrock attacks children. Colin stands up. Kid arrives. Uh, Kid arriving in any capacity to help would be awesome. I like that. Most viewers were big fans of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. That's why more people wanted the Eagles to win. You think so? You think a lot of viewers were fans of It's Always Sunny? I could see that. It's Always Sunny has always been like a under the surface type show though. Like never like mainstream popularity, but it's like if you know, you know. You know what I mean? Yeah, I know I know the details. Like I know Travis Kelce's dating Taylor Swift. Like okay, when I say I don't follow football, I think you guys might overassume how little I know. I do know, and I do know like a lot of the general. Like I know the general trends, etc. I can recognize a lot of player names, stuff like that. I've even watched the Kelce brothers podcast like a few times just out of interest and curiosity, because like two brothers doing a podcast together when there's such big names in the game, that's pretty rare, and they have some good guests on and stuff like that. I knew that there's like a lot of controversy about like, do the Eagles still do the what's the name of that play that they kept doing where they just all just push the quarterback together? Do they still do that? Do they all do that? Do they still do that? Because isn't that like a kind of cheesy or does football not view it like that? Because I would feel like that's like a cheesy tactic that would piss me off if it's working. You know? Is that still a thing? They did that for their first touchdown last night. So do people like that then? People are like, that's cool. To me, that seems kind of... I don't like that tactic when I learned about it. Like, I just view it as like cheese. I guess it's not cheese. I don't know. Like, do people like that? It's called brotherly shove. That's not what I remember it being called. But maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So, I mean, I know I saw a lot of people tweeting about the Kendrick halftime show. I imagine it was a good one. Didn't really watch any highlights. I never go back. Like, if I miss the Super Bowl... I think the Super Bowl halftime show is just always, like, a really overrated thing. I don't know, like... I think it's silly that the biggest music event of the year is just whatever gets to play at the biggest sports event of the year. I don't know. I just view it as silly. I think also just usually I never fuck with... I don't really care most of the time about like whoever plays the halftime show, so it's just like not an artist that I'm interested in. So, I mean, Kendrick, I really, really liked all of the shit that he put out this year, and it kind of actually got me into his music to some degree, but like I've already heard it played a million times, so like I wasn't like, oh boy, they're gonna play not like like I've already heard that song a million times, you know. Tush Push, that's what I remember being called. Isaiah Davis, thanks for the 5. Gabon will unknowingly ask about Ace since Elbaf didn't get the news. Oh, I could put that down. Fuck. If Gabon doesn't know about Ace, that'd be fucking sad as fuck. Gabon will ask about Ace because he doesn't know. Isaiah Davis. All right, I'm going to call stream in a few minutes here. Al says it's cheesy but risky for the QB. Could get injured off of it. I guess. Yeah, Tush Push is what I remember it was called. I thought it was like a silly name too. I guess, but like, doesn't it just work all the time? Pretty much, like, isn't it nearly unstoppable? I think I just don't like any type of play that feels unstoppable and gimmicky, but I don't know. All right, guys. Oh, he got news of Kaido's defeat, so he should know about Ace. All right, guys. I'm probably going to call the stream in like 2 minutes. I've only listened, like, in full, like, sat down and listened to Pimp a Butterfly. But I thought that fucking blew my mind and legitimately changed my whole view of, like, I was just like, okay, everything they say about how good this dude, like, how artistically deep this dude is like legit. Like that actually blew my mind. I was not expecting that. That entire album, the way it all pieced together, and the last song, like that blew my mind. But it's I'm still just never gonna be that pumped about like a Super Bowl halftime show. You know what I mean? Regardless of who the artist is, I think. Bunfagum, thanks for 2 thoughts on the Gulf of America. It's the fucking Gulf of Mexico. I've got no thought. Like it's just like I'm not gonna get into like crazy politics stuff here, but like that's not even a politics thing. It's just like it's the fucking Gulf of Mexico. Like what do we even like? There's no Gulf of America. We don't even want a Gulf of America. Why would we want a Gulf? All right. Yeah, people say that's his best album, but I could definitely believe that because the album was really, like, it really changed my view on what an album could even be, if that makes sense. I could definitely see it. All right, guys. All right. I am going to call the stream here. Oh, wait. Abrar Ahmed with a question that took me. Morj, who is your prediction for the NBA champion for the season? For me, it's OKC as much as I hate them. Here's the tricky thing. I have not watched that much NBA this season. I have kept up with it through listening to podcasts and like breakdowns and looking at Reddit and Twitter. Not Twitter that much for NBA, but Reddit a lot. But like really mostly podcasts and breakdowns. It's silly, but I just wasn't. I think I've realized, I was like, why am I not as into the NBA right now as I was like 4 years ago in terms of actually actively watching? I think it's the same as for like a lot of people, which is, and I think this is the heart, by the way, of why viewership is down overall for the NBA. I, like a lot of people, I like watching the NBA when the teams and players that I like are doing well. I honestly think that's at the heart of it. I think that's at the heart of it, and I think that's why the real race is like trying to find the next face of the league. Because it's like, who's the next face or like the player or the team that's this all-time great that people actually want to get behind and follow and brings them into the game, right? My favorite years watching the NBA were, I got into it in 2016. So I got into it in 2016. So initially my favorite team was the Warriors. Then slowly I morphed into also a LeBron fan till finally LeBron he just slowly became my favorite player over the course of 2019, there was just a shift where I grew to really respect him by 2018. Then 2019, I really, really started to like root for him. And then I think by 2020, he slowly morphed into my favorite player. So like there was this whole era between 2016 through 2020 where my favorite players like Steph Curry, LeBron, they were always like up there in contention. I even actually really liked Kawhi Leonard back then until people started way overrating him. So that was just like an amazing era because just the way the league worked was like I'm getting to watch LeBron over here, right? And like he's the best in the East, so I know that there's some showdown coming with the Warriors in the West later. Can LeBron figure out a way to beat them this year? I don't know. Then later on, I'm following LeBron on the Lakers, and I'm rooting for them because now LeBron's got to figure it out all over again on this team, this brand new team. And like you got the bad guys like the Rockets and stuff, but I always knew in my heart that the Rockets wouldn't win. Like it was just an era where I just really enjoyed watching because the teams that I cared about were good. So when the teams that you care about are like the ones that are most likely, like that are winning a lot and doing well, and like they're driving the narrative and it's stuff like that, that's fun. The last time I really loved watching the NBA was I think the 2022 playoffs I loved watching. Like that's my favorite finals like championship run ever when Steph took the Warriors to victory, just because it was so unexpected. I would have loved 2016 more if I was a LeBron fan back then, but I wasn't, right? So it wasn't unexpected that the Warriors did it, but it just seemed doable, like very doable at the start of the year, then much less doable later on. And then the playoffs came around and was like, yeah, like hypothetically they could definitely do it. Like they definitely got a good shot. And then Steph just had to like pull through, like actually deliver on doing it, like because the window was open. But that was like the playoffs, right? The Warriors were mixed over the course of the regular season. Nuggets I really like. I like Jokic a lot, right? 2023 playoffs were fun to watch as well, but I didn't like Jokic and the Nuggets so much that I felt like really watching them during the regular season. I think that's where I'm at right now with the NBA, which is if I look at the NBA landscape, the teams that are really doing well are teams I don't give a shit about or dislike. Celtics, Thunder, fucking Cavs, right? Like Knicks, Pacer, like the East. There's not a single team in the East that I legitimately like outside of the Heat, right? And then in the West, like the West is currently run by like the Thunder, the Rockets. I don't think the Rockets are gonna win. I don't care for the Rockets. Clippers are still doing good. Like it's just teams I don't care for. I really hope that the Nuggets or the Lakers do well now, right? This trade that just happened before, like I couldn't really like watching the NBA to watch the Lakers or the Warriors was just a sad experience because like they didn't feel like actual contenders. So now that Luka's been traded there, and I was already low-key a Mavs fan, now that Luka's been traded to the Lakers, now I have true hope, and now I feel like watching the NBA again. So like I'm going to watch tonight's game, and now I'm going to be invested again because I truly feel, you want to feel passionate about what you want, like you want to feel like a desire to watch the NBA because it makes you happy because the things, the people, the teams that you're rooting for are actually doing well and have a good shot. Like, I would watch more Nuggets games because I do like the Nuggets, but I don't I do feel like they've got a shot, but it's so tenuous that I don't feel like putting myself through the emotions of really getting emotionally attached to them over the course of the regular season. I'll just watch and find out how they do in the playoffs ultimately. But now with LeBron and Luka on the same team, I genuinely am so excited about it. I'm going to watch and see how they do regardless right now. Yeah. So I think you asked who do I think will win? If you put a gun to my head and said who wins the NBA Finals this year, and I had to make a safe bet, I would bet on the Celtics because it's the easiest thing to bet on. But I think it's genuinely a pretty up in the air championship. I think the Celtics can win. I think the Thunder I know the Thunder are a lot better now than they were before. I feel like the Thunder could potentially I could see them slipping in some spot. I think it's just always hard to bet on new champions, like people who haven't done it before. The Thunder are very young, have no real veteran experience. At a certain point, you got to get there the first time, like the Warriors did, so maybe this is the year for the Thunder. But the Warriors got a lucky break in that LeBron was injured and everything like that, you know? Or sorry, not LeBron, the Cavs were injured that year. So, like, while the Thunder look really good on paper, it is always going to be a question mark for me betting on first-time champions who are still fairly young. So I'm not as confident in them as like the Celtics did it last year, you could say. But then the Celtics have been, like, knocking on the door for so long. Like, this was, like, their third, like they went like Eastern Conference Finals, Eastern Conference Finals, like back to not back to back, but like a lot over the course of like they were just due at a certain point. And everyone was just like, well, are they gonna fucking choke it again last year? But they didn't. They finally really were just too stacked to be stopped. I think the Thunder, I could easily see them making the Western Conference Finals. I could even see them making the finals. It's just, and maybe they win the whole thing, but it is just a lot to bet on a first-time winner like that. I think certain things have to fall your way very well to be a first-time winner. And then from there, they become more of a threat. It's just tricky. Like, things are just difficult. Like, the Bucks, I guess, were a group that 2021, but the Bucks had Giannis, who was arguably... He was contending for first or second best player in the world by that point in time. He was contending for like he was in the conversation. Like I think Shea is not quite as transcendent as like a Jokic, a Giannis, even a Luka. For me to feel that same level of like that, I don't know, but they might just prove me wrong. So the Thunder are tricky. Cavs I haven't watched enough. I know the Cavs are supposedly really, really fucking good. I think they've been really good. I feel like the Nuggets, I would honestly say the Nuggets are my second pick. I think Celtics are most likely. I feel like the Nuggets might be even more likely just because they've been there, done that before. They just have Jokic at the end of the day. They have Jokic. All it takes for the Nuggets to basically be real, like to be able to beat anybody, is essentially if Murray just plays a bit better, a bit more like his old self. But because they have Jokic, Jokic is just the best floor raiser I've ever seen since LeBron. And he just guarantees a level of consistency where he will pretty much never have a bad game and pretty much always be making everyone better. And in the playoffs, just how often can you consistently be playing good basketball matters a lot. So while the Nuggets might not have the high ceiling, I think Jokic just gives them such a level of like such a solid rock that I think he's always going to be a shot there. So I would say personally, I think the Lakers also finally have a really shot here. It's just the defense is a problem, right? Okay. All right. Continuing on. Let me catch the rest of these, and then we're probably going to close that stream here. Bonfagum, we covered this. Caleb Cool Guy, thanks for bringing Yonker to your member for 22 months. Prediction. Gabon uses Haki in a unique way, not new form of Haki, just different application. We've already kind of... I think I can't quite give that to you because we've already... A lot of people have already said similar things like that. So, like, I feel like you have to do something more specific than other people if you're going to go broad with it. You know what I'm saying? Shonen Academia, thanks a lot. Couldn't Dream Energy be Haki, like with Haki Knots? Maybe, but I feel like there just seems like a difference because I think Oda's always kind of separated out the power systems of Haki and Devil Fruits as two different things. And I do think Devil Fruits are supposed to represent dreams more, and Haki is supposed to represent your willpower more. And so I feel like Devil Fruits being a product of potentially Dream Energy. I think Dream Energy is more of a collective unconscious type thing, and why Vegapunk says it's all around us, whereas Haki is more intrinsic to you and your level of conviction. Spurs a sleeper. Spurs are fighting to get in the play-in, you know? If they're lucky. Yeah, if I were to say right now, if I had to guess, I think, like, there are teams that have wider ranges. So, like, I think it is... I think... I could see the Thunder being more likely to do well in the playoffs than the Lakers, right? The Thunder are more likely to do well in the playoffs than the Lakers. The Lakers are like, they could be anything right now. We don't know. But in terms of, like, shot at actually winning the championship, in terms of upside, I feel like the Lakers might have more upside just because they've got LeBron, super experienced, at his best when he's not having to do everything, right, at this age. And then Luka, right? And the Lakers are already on like a fucking 5-game win streak, so they've been putting shit together. So I think the Lakers, this is my personal bias as well, but I do think that the Lakers have, I think they're like arguably top 4, top 5 contenders in the league legitimately with this trade. Thunder, obviously, I'd say Celtics is like the safe house money. I'd say the Nuggets are even kind of safe house money just because Jokic is just such a guarantee. And all he needs is for Murray and some other players to play better. And if he does, then like they might be... If Murray's playing 90% of what he was like, or even 80% of what he was like in 2023, 80 to 90% of what he was like then, I would favor the Nuggets over the Celtics if Murray's like that. So that's what basically is dependent on. Thunder, it's just a question mark because, like, historically, you just need... Let me see. First-time NBA winners, right? First-time NBA winners. I don't know how far back I want to go, really, but, like, you know, the 2012 Thunder, who were so stacked, they couldn't do it. It's hard to do it for the first time. The Mavericks, they'd been to the final, like in 2011, they'd been to the finals before. Like you're playing with very experienced players at that point in time. They won it. Kobe, when he won his first, like it was like after a lot of like he's been to the finals many times, won many times, etc. Those Celtics were just an overly super stat. Like in 2008, they were an overly stacked super team, right? Miami winning with Shaq. Shaq had experience, even though D-Wade was young. If you go in recent times, right, LeBron's always winning. Otherwise, you've got the Spurs, who had a lot of experience. The Warriors, as that sort of young, hyper-talented team, they likely would not have won in 2015 if not for getting lucky with injuries, right? The Thunder are probably in a similar position, I think, where it's just, you kind of, I think they need to knock at the door a bit more than just going straight from, like, second round to winning the whole thing. Because it's essentially like they need to win 3 more rounds, right? They need to win second round, Conference Finals, and Finals. So they need to win 3 more rounds than they've ever done. I think that's a lot to ask, but it could be doable. Nuggets, been there, done that already. And again, Nuggets, like, they had to have the experience of getting to the Western Conference Finals first. I just think that for the Thunder, they're so young. They have no real veteran sort of who's been there, done that in that same way. They're so good still. I just feel like at some point in the road, I think I could see them looking very dominant first, second, maybe even all the way to Western Conference Finals. I feel like there's somewhere in there that they're going to have a hiccup. I don't know if this is just going to be the year where they like just break through. Because there's just certain experience things. Like there's even, like when players talk about experience winning championships and stuff, there's stuff that like, if you listen to interviews, there's stuff that you would never think about just in terms of like, how should you manage, like social interaction? Like, should you be like, you shouldn't be looking at like news or anything like that. You need to learn to tune out outside noise and be focused, etc. Like those are like things that are even independent from the game that you just need to learn how to do through experience, you know? Like, does that make sense? I don't know. Let me do a quick poll for you guys, and then we're gonna call stream. I've been saying that for a little bit. All right. Most likely to win NBA championship. Gobble D Snut says endurance is the biggest factor. Yeah, you just have to learn sometimes. Like, how do you pace yourself, even? You know. Celtics, Thunder. I would say Nuggets and Thunder, in my mind, have an equal level of shot at winning the championship. I would almost be more likely to bet on the Nuggets than the Thunder, but granted, I haven't watched the Thunder much, so that's bias on my part. I knew that they were scary when they were playing the Mavs last year, right? So have they graduated from scary all the way to like, we'll just win the whole thing? I don't know. Celtics, Thunder, Nuggets, and I'll throw in the Lakers, although I feel like the Cavs deserve this spot more, but I'm throwing in the Lakers. Caleb Cool Guy is an alternate. Reprediction, Roto tries to dissuade Luffy from engaging Gabon. I don't think that's bold enough. We can put it. I don't think that's bold enough, man. Caleb Cool Guy, do you want to give one more before we close stream? You want to give one more? Yeah, most people, Celtics is the easy bet. It is generally the easy bet to just bet on what already happened again, you know? Like, I remember when the Warriors won in 22, a lot of people were saying, because, like, so much of the prospects look good, like Jordan Poole looked so good and stuff, it was kind of, like, a lot of people were just like, damn, what's stopping the Warriors from just doing this again next year? Like, they're just going to be even better, because, like, their young guys are going to get even better and stuff, and the Warriors were fucking terrible next year, right? When the Nuggets won in 23, a lot of people were just like, holy shit, the Nuggets are so far ahead of the league, and they won so dominantly, it was like, they're the favorites for next year. Nuggets lost in the second round the next year, you know? Celtics, same thing. Like, just whatever happened most recently feels like it's going to happen again. But things are always different. The Celtics are the most talented team, though, and that has not changed, you know? Caleb Cool Guy, you got one more thing to send us off with? Yeah, I like seeing a lot of support for the Lakers. Like, 25% of y'all think the Lakers can do it. I think this actually breakdown kind of reflects how I feel, which is I think Celtics is just the safe money. But I think the Nuggets, because of Jokic, is just a very safe bet as well. And then the Lakers now have their upside potential, so they could maybe do it, but the defense is potentially a problem. And then the Thunder on paper should be like heavy favorites, but I just have my doubts based on the way NBA history goes and their lack of experience. I feel like I wouldn't be surprised if the Thunder make it all the way to the Western Conference Finals or even the Finals. Don't quite get it there, but then after this, they're set to win like at least a championship or two over the next 5 years. I think they might need one more practice run or experience run before they do the whole thing. But if they get there first, then holy shit, they're just a lot more legit than I ever realized. Caleb Kugai, last time. Gabon knows about the God's Knights, was in there in regards to the Magic Circle. Okay, I got that. I could put that down. And that'll be our final prediction. Gabon knows about God's Knights and was there for the Magic Circle. All right. Ender and Ami says, you forgot the part when they're broken up after making the finals law. Yeah, that's the other thing, which is that just like money gets complicated usually after these sort of things. So like Just because a team gets all the way there at one point doesn't mean that they're like it's going to be the same team or certain things change and stuff afterwards. All right, Aespa Comeback says, yo, whoever gave me a membership, thank you. I just saw the email and came back on stream. Woot. Yeah, I'm pretty sure, was it L? I think we got a few gifted memberships this stream. All right. All right, everybody. We are going to call it there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to 1140. I'm genuinely very, very sad that we got to wait another week for it.